Chapter 547. Yi Qing said, "Sister, leave the appraisal to me, but you have to tell me about you and brother-in-law. You haven't told me about it for so many years." She knew that Chu Xianyue had two men she loved deeply. One was her son, and the other was her husband Qin Zongheng. Other than that, she didn't know much. "I didn't tell you before, because I didn't want to look back on the past. Now that I have news about Haodong, I'll tell you." Chu Xianyue showed a sad expression. She recalled the past and slowly told her story. 22 years ago, I was a famous talented woman in the capital. I was also known as the most beautiful woman in the capital. Haodong's father, Qin Zongheng, was a rare martial arts genius of the Qin family. The Qin family had high hopes for him. We met by chance. From the first time I saw him, I decided that he was the man of my life. It turned out that love at first sight was not a legend, but a real thing. We were a perfect match. Unfortunately, among the 7 great families in the capital, the Qin family and the Chu family had always been at odds. They had been competitors for hundreds of years, so our love didn't get the blessings of our families. On the contrary, it attracted strong opposition. What happened after that? What happened to you? Yi Qing couldn't help asking. Although she was a well-known little witch in the capital, all women had an instinctive longing and yearning for love. Chu Xianyue said, "Brother Zongheng and I really loved each other. The opposition from our families couldn't stop us from being together. One day, I found out that I was pregnant. At that time, I was ecstatic. I thought that with a child, my family would definitely agree to our marriage. I didn't expect that when I heard the news, I didn't get the blessings of my family. On the contrary, it attracted strong opposition from both parents. The Qin family forced brother Zongheng to break up with me, and at the same time, arranged another marriage for him. On the Chu family's side, my father forced me to abort the child. Later, I threatened to kill myself and barely saved Haodong. If this went on, even if we couldn't get married, we could still keep the child. However, at that time, someone suddenly came to the Chu family. It was Taoist Yuan, who claimed to be proficient in the yin-yang input method. He claimed to be the descendant of Yuan Tiangang of the Tang dynasty. He was proficient in the 8 trigrams, and all kinds of yin and yang spells. He looked at the ancestral grave of our Chu family, and claimed that it was the land of fairies. Yi Qing asked, "Could it be that the land of the fairies has something to do with children?" Chu Xianyue said, "According to Taoist Yuan, the land of the fairies' skin is a kind of excellent geomancy, which can protect the prosperity of future generations. However, there is one thing. All women who marry outside cannot give birth to boys. Otherwise, they will take away the fortune of the family and nourish the husband's side." Yi Qing said, "Isn't this nonsense? Did the old man believe it too?" Chu Xianyue said, "There are many people who believe in this evil theory. I heard that the family of Li Hongzhang, a famous minister of the previous dynasty, was buried in the land of fairy skin, so there were no women in the Li family in his generation. It's not that they didn't give birth, but they were directly killed when they were born. They were afraid that the Li family's blessing would be taken away. Although my father wasn't as cruel as the Li family, after knowing that Haodong was a boy, he wouldn't allow him to stay in this world. He was afraid that he would bring the fortune of the Chu family to the Qin family." Yi Qing asked, "What happened after that?" Chu Xianyue said, "Under the instigation of Taoist Yuan, my father didn't show anything at first. Just when I was a little relaxed, Haodong was suddenly lost one day. Although I still don't know who stole the child, I know that this matter definitely has something to do with the Chu family. It must have been arranged by my father. The day Haodong disappeared was the day that brother Zongheng got married to that woman. After receiving the news of the child's disappearance, brother Zongheng ran away from home angrily. Since then, there has been no news of him. I don't know where he went. After losing my son, I frantically looked for him everywhere, but there was no news at all. I knew that all this was done by the Chu family. Later, I broke away from the Chu family and founded the Haodong group today. There has been no news of Haodong for so many years. I thought he was dead. I never expected that he would suddenly appear in my world today." Speaking of this, she became excited again. "Xiaoqing, You must help me find my son. Don't worry, sister. When I was wandering on the streets, you adopted me. In my heart, you are my mother and Haodong is my younger brother. I will definitely do my best. Yi Qing said. But there is one thing I don't understand. With the strength of the Haodong group, I'm afraid it's not difficult to find someone in Huaxia. Why don't you search for news of Haodong? At least you should check all the people named Qin Haodong. Chu Xianyue sighed and said, Of course I understand what you mean, but I don't know whether the child is dead or alive. I don't know if he was killed by someone sent by my father. The hope of finding him is very vague. Even if the child is still alive, who knows what his name is? In addition, although the Haodong group is very strong, it is still not as strong as the Chu family. If I make a big effort to find the child in Huaxia, even if I find him, I will harm him. I will definitely not be able to escape from the Chu family. So in the past 20 years, I can only cry silently and miss my son. But I can't do anything. Yi Qing said, Sister, don't be too sad. The Qin Haodong I met looks so much like brother-in-law. I guess it's very likely that he's the little Haodong you lost. Chu Xianyue choked and said, I hope so. Do you know why I didn't let you call me mother when I adopted you? It's not to show that I'm young, but I can't hear this word. Every time a child calls me mother, I can't help but think of my own son. Yi Qing said, It doesn't matter what you call me. In fact, you are my mother in my heart. No matter what, I will help you find little Haodong. Tomorrow morning, send someone to bring me the things. Remember, you must pretend to be calm and normal. Don't give yourself away. Chu Xianyue said, I know. I've endured for so many years. A few more days won't matter. Yi Qing said, Sister, you must stay away from that guy surnamed Han. I think that guy has bad intentions towards us. What he wants is not you, but the property of our Haodong group. Chu Xianyue said, Han Zixing is my playmate since childhood. We are just friends. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. While they were talking, in another luxury villa in the capital, a middle-aged man in his 40s was answering the phone. Is there any news from Shanghai? The person on the other side of the phone said, Boss, I haven't found anything wrong at the moment. That little witch is too vigilant and has a high cultivation. Our people don't dare to get too close. Be careful, but you must keep an eye on her. Report to me immediately if anything unusual happens. Got it, boss. After hanging up the phone, the middle-aged man murmured, Chu Xianyue, Haodong group, none of you can run away. Sooner or later, you will all be mine. Qin Haodong returned home. As soon as he entered the door, the little fellow rushed over and said, Papa, what did you do? Why did you come back so late? Papa went out to do something. He kissed the little fellow on the cheek and walked into the living room with her in his arms. The little fellow said, Papa, why do you smell so good? Are you with an auntie? Qin Haodong staggered and almost fell to the ground. He quickly said, Tang Tang, have you had dinner? What delicious food did Mama cook for you? Li Mei looked at him and said with an unkind expression, Don't change the subject. You haven't answered my question yet. Where did you go after coming out of the crime squad? Did you go out to pick up girls again? The other girls also looked at him playfully. Chi Wana said, What did he do? Hurry up and tell the truth, or you will be tortured. Jia Shirhan said, Don't talk about him like that. He must have gone to do something. Nalan Wushuang said, Shirhan, you are too addicted to this guy. You were deceived by him. Lin Momo took the little fellow from Qin Haodong's arms and looked at him playfully. She said, Tell me, where did he go? Qin Haodong touched his nose and said with a little embarrassment, I went to the exhibition center to find Yagyu Yukheim. Chi Waner said, I don't know what kind of luck you have with women. Why can't you leave them? Li Meiyu said angrily, Well, Qin Haodong, you even hooked up with a neon woman. It's not what you think. Qin Haodong quickly explained. Fortunately, Yagyu Yukheim helped with today's case. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to solve. As he spoke, he briefly described the situation in the crime squad. He emphasized that it was Yagyu Yukheim who asked the Mitsui brothers to change their statements. Of course, he could not mention that the two of them had sex in the hotel. You see, she helped me so much. I have to go there. Thank you. Among the crowd, Lin Momo knew the relationship between him and Yagi Yukheim very well. However, she just smiled and did not say anything. After listening to him, Li Meiyu's expression eased a lot. Qin Haodong quickly changed the topic and said, I heard from Yagi Yukheim that the Yagi family came to Shanghai to participate in the financial summit held by the Haodong Group. Have you heard of the Haodong Group? It is said to be very famous. His method was very useful. Li Meiyu said, Of course I've heard of the Haodong Group. It cooperates with our family, with many companies in Hong Kong. She originally wanted to say that they had a lot of cooperation with the Li family, but she thought that she was hiding her identity, so she swallowed her words halfway. Nailin Wushuang said, I've heard of the Haodong Group before, but now I notice that it's the same name as you. If I don't know, I would think it's a business under your name. Qin Haodong said, How is that possible? There are many people named Haodong in Huaxia. Zhang Haodong, Li Haodong, Wang Haodong, there are tens of thousands of them. Lin Momo said, I've known about the Haodong Group for a long time. For me, it's an inspirational story of two women. What do you mean? Jia Shirhan asked curiously. She knew nothing about this world. She didn't know as much as Qin Haodong. Naturally, she had never heard of the Haodong Group. Lin Momo said, The founder of the Haodong Group is called Chu Xianyue. She was originally the eldest daughter of the Chu family, but she did not inherit the family business. She founded the Haodong Group herself. Later, she adopted a little girl, who is now the CEO of the Haodong Group, Yi Qing. Yi Qing's ability is also very outstanding. She cooperated with Chu Xianyue to build the Haodong Group. Now it is definitely one of the largest financial groups in Huaxia. Many people think that Chu Xianyue has achieved what she has today because of the Chu family, but as far as I know, this statement is not reliable at all. I don't know why, but Chu Xianyue has a very bad relationship with the Chu family. After leaving the Chu family, she rarely contacted them. The Haodong Group was built by her. It has nothing to do with the Chu family. Chapter 548. Qi Weiner said, The Haodong Group is also famous in the capital. I've heard of it before. Especially the CEO Yi Qing. This woman is both beautiful and capable, but she's a little witch. She has taught all the playboys of the big families in the capital a lesson. Many playboys tremble when they hear her name. Hearing this, Qin Haodong suddenly remembered the woman he had met in front of the exhibition center. She was beautiful, arrogant, and a powerful 6th-level Supreme Power Master. Now it was very likely that she was the little witch Yi Qing that Qi Weiner had mentioned. At this time Jia Shirhan said, So powerful. They are really two amazing women. I really want to meet them if I have the chance. Lin Momo said, It's too difficult. Let alone Chu Xianyue. It's even more difficult for us to meet Yi Qing. For example, the financial summit in Shanghai was held by the Haodong Group, but the threshold is very high. If you want to participate, you must have at least 10 billion yuan in assets. Otherwise, you are not even qualified to enter the door. Lin's jewelry has just arrived in the capital and has not yet formed a scale of industry. I have tried to find some connections in the past few days, but there is no way to get an invitation at all. Speaking of this, she had a lonely look on her face. She imagined that her Lin's group was doing well in Jiangnan City and was very important, but she couldn't even get an invitation letter in Shanghai, which really made her feel very frustrated. Qin Haodong asked, Is this financial summit very important to us? Lin Momo said, Of course, our Lin's Jewelry and Tangmen Pharmaceutical Company have just arrived in Shanghai. Although we have a firm foothold thanks to the Daddy Security Company, we have no connections in the upper class. The participants of this financial summit are all big companies and consortiums. If we can build a good relationship with them, it will definitely be good for the future development of Lin's Jewelry and Tangmen Pharmaceutical Company. Especially Lin's Jewelry. These rich people are the big customers we need to fight for in the future. If we can't win the approval of these people, it will be impossible to defeat Shue's Jewelry. Qin Haodong said, Why didn't you ask Ma Wenjue to think of a way? Lin Momo shook her head and said, I've already asked, and Wenjue can't do anything about it. This financial summit is held by the Haodong Group. All the invitations are issued by Yi Qing alone. The security is extremely strict. Those who don't meet the conditions can't enter. I see. Qin Haodong thought for a moment, took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhou Xinju's number. He went straight to the point and said, "Can you help us get an invitation to this financial summit?" Hearing this, Zhou Xinju smiled bitterly and said, "I really can't do that. Our Zhou family only got one invitation." Qin Haodong said, "With the strength of the Zhou family, is there no other way?" "No." Zhou Xinju said simply, "The organizer of this financial summit is the Haodong Group in the capital. There are also many large consortiums with an international industry scale of 100 billion yuan attending the summit. For example, the Yagyu family in Neon, the Kim family in Koryo, and Maldini Jr. in M country. Compared with them, our Zhou family is just an ordinary member with no privileges at all." "All right then." Qin Haodong had no choice but to hang up the phone. "Is there no other way?" Lin Momo asked. Qin Haodong shook his head. Just then Saber came in and said, "Boss, there's a woman outside looking for you." Li Meiyu immediately said with dissatisfaction, "It's so late, and there's still a woman looking for you. How many women have you provoked outside?" Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, "Don't randomly accuse me. I don't even know who it is. Just let her go." Li Meiyu said, "No, if you don't let her in, it means that you have a guilty conscience." "What's there to feel guilty about?" Qin Haodong said to Saber, "Let her in." He was also very surprised. Who would come to his house so late at night? Yi Qing stood in front of Qin Haodong's house and looked at the beautiful villa. She was quite emotional. She had just gotten the first-hand information about Qin Haodong. He was a child picked up by an old Chinese medicine practitioner in Jiangnan City. From the date of birth, it was further consistent with the son that Chu Xianyue had lost. At the same time, Qin Haodong's achievements made her even more amazed. At the age of 20, he had become a famous medical sage in Jiangnan City. At the same time, he had opened a security company, a pharmaceutical company, and a large number of shares in Lin's group. After coming to Shanghai, he had defeated the Sun family in less than a month, and quickly became the existence above the three big families. This was definitely not something that an ordinary person could do. The reason why she came here so late was that, on the one hand, she wanted to verify whether Qin Haodong was Chu Xuanyue's lost son. On the other hand, she wanted to see what was so magical about this young man. At this time, Saber came back and said to her politely, "Miss, please come with me." She followed Saber into the living room of the villa. After entering the door, all eyes looked at her. For a moment, everyone's face showed a shocked expression. Yi Qing was shocked. She did not expect that there were so many women in Qin Haodong's family. Moreover, all of them were so beautiful that any one of them was not inferior to her. Lin Momo, Qi Wan-er, and Li Meiyu were all shocked because they all recognized Yi Qing. They never dreamed that the person who came to visit in the middle of the night was Yi Qing, who often appeared on the cover of financial magazines, the CEO of Haodong Group. Qin Haodong also did not expect that Yi Qing would come to his house so soon. Did she still want him to pay for her car? "Auntie, you're so beautiful." After seeing Yi Qing, the little fellow did not feel strange at all. On the contrary, she greeted her in a friendly manner. "Little sister, you're also beautiful." Yi Qing saw the little fellow who looked like a doll, and immediately liked her very much. At this time, Lin Momo stepped forward and said, "President Yi, I didn't expect you to come here. Please have a seat." Yi Qing said, "Don't be so polite. Call me Yi Qing or Sister Qing." Qin Haodong secretly thought that, as expected, this woman was really Yi Qing. Yi Qing said to him, "I didn't expect that there were so many beautiful women in your house. It's simply a concentration camp of beautiful women. Can you introduce me to them?" "Introduce? How?" Of course, Qin Haodong would not do as she said. There were so many women in the room, and there were many relationships that could not be explained clearly to an outsider. He said, "Miss Yi, I tell you, you can only blame your driver for that car. It has nothing to do with me. Fortunately, you met me today. If it was someone else, they would have been killed by him. At that time, you would have gotten into big trouble." Yi Qing was slightly stunned. Then she said with a smile, "You misunderstood me. I'm not here to ask you for compensation. On the contrary, I'm here to apologize for my driver. It was my driver's fault today. I fired him." Jin Haodong said, "Oh, there's no need to apologize. I'm not injured anyway." Yi Qing said, "But this matter is my driver's fault, and I'm also responsible. In order to express my apology, I would like to invite you to the opening reception of our Haodong Group's financial summit tomorrow. I hope you can accept my apology." As she spoke, she took out a golden invitation and gave it to Jin Haodong. They had just been worried about the invitation to the financial summit. They did not expect it to be delivered to them so soon. Of course, Jin Haodong would not be polite. He took it and handed it to Lin Momo. "Thank you, Miss Yi. It's too late. I won't disturb your rest. See you at the reception tomorrow night. Remember to come," Yi Qing said, and turned to walk out of the door. Jin Haodong had just received the invitation, so he had to be polite and follow her out. When they reached the gate, Yi Qing turned around and said, "Little brother, there are so many beautiful women here. Are they all your girlfriends?" The question was a little sudden. Jin Haodong said awkwardly, Well, not all of them," Yi Qing said with a smile. "So there are still several." She was about to tease him when Jin Haodong's expression changed. He made a gesture to saber and sword behind him and said, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, about 100 meters away." Before Yi Qing could understand the meaning of his words, he saw that Long Dao and Sharp Sword had already galloped in those two directions. After a while they walked back, each carrying a black-clothed man. Yi Qing was shocked. She did not feel anything at all, but Jin Haodong found that someone was spying on them. What kind of cultivation was this? She was a level 6 Supreme Power Master. Saber and sword through the two men in black in front of Jin Haodong. The two men shouted, "I'm just taking a walk. Why did you catch me?" "That's right. Are you great because you're rich? If you don't let me go, I'll call the police." Jin Haodong looked at the two of them with a playful expression and said with a smile, "Judging from your accent, are you from the capital?" One of the men in black said, "Yes, we are from the capital. What's wrong?" Jin Haodong said, "Nothing. I just think you're amazing. You actually walked from the capital to Shanghai. Didn't you break your legs? Moreover, this is a completely closed community. How did you sneak in if you don't live here?" The two black-robed men were speechless for a moment. At this time, their hearts were full of questions. They had been following them for so many days without being discovered. How did they get caught in such a short time? He turned to look at Yi Qing and said, "These people seem to be coming for you. I'll give them to you." Yi Qing was the executive president of Haodong Group, and the number 2 person with real power. It was not surprising that someone was following them. He directly sent the two men in black out. Yi Qing waved to an RV parked next to him, and the captain of the bodyguards jumped out. "Take them to the car and interrogate them. Take everything out of their mouths." Yes, seeing that his master was being followed, but he didn't notice it at all, the captain of the bodyguards suddenly felt ashamed. He fiercely grabbed the collars of the two men and dragged them to the RV. Yi Qing turned around and said to Jin Haodong, "Recently, I always felt that someone was following me, but I couldn't find them after trying several times. I didn't expect to find them here. I'm very curious. What's your cultivation? Why did you find the people I couldn't find?" She was really very curious. With her cultivation of the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm, she couldn't see through Jin Haodong's cultivation. Jin Haodong smiled and said, "My cultivation is not high, but I've been more sensitive than others since I was a child. When I went out, I felt that someone was spying on me, so I caught them." Although she had a good feeling about Yi Qing, she would not tell him the secret of her spirit. "Yes, thank you." After that, Yi Qing got in the car and left with his men. When Jin Haodong returned to the room, many women immediately surrounded him. Li Meiyu said, "You're really good at it. You even hooked up with Yi Qing of Haodong Group." Jin Haodong was speechless. "What do you mean by hooking up? It's the first time we've met, okay?" Li Meiyu said, "That's impossible. Who would send an invitation card to the first time they meet? There must be something going on." Chapter 549. Qin Haodong really had a headache with this jealous and protected target. If he had known this, he would rather stay under the girl's dormitory and sleep in the open than propose to pursue her. However, there was no other way. At this point, he could only patiently explain how he had a conflict with Yi Qing's driver, how he kicked the other party's Rolls-Royce, from beginning to end, and finally said, "That's the situation. Before today, I had never heard of the Haodong group, let alone Yi Qing." Hearing this, Li Meiyu stopped talking. She took Jia Shirhan to the side to watch TV. Seeing that they had all left, Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo, "Someone sent me a pillow just when I was about to sleep. Now that I have the invitation to the financial summit, I can go to the meeting tomorrow." Lin Momo held the golden invitation letter and said, "But I still feel a little strange. I've asked these days. Yi Qing is very strict about the issuance of invitation letters. How could he give us one so casually? Even if she wants to apologize to you, she can do it in other ways. There is no need to send an invitation. Is there something we don't know?" Qin Haodong said, "Who cares? I'll go with you tomorrow. I'm not afraid of what others will do, and I don't think Yi Qing has any malice towards us. This should not be a trap." "I don't think there's any malice either. It's just that it's weird to send an invitation so casually." Lin Momo suddenly whispered in his ear, "Do you think Yi Qing wants to keep you?" Do I look like a gigolo?" "Yes, very much so. I felt that the way she looked at you today was strange. I heard that she is 28 years old and still has no boyfriend. Maybe she fell in love with you at first sight." Qin Haodong said, "I'm not that charming. Don't think too much. Take your daughter to bed." At the exhibition center, after Yi Qing returned to her room, she dialed Chu Xuanyue's phone again. "Sister, you haven't slept yet, have you?" "Well, not yet." Chu Xuanyue's voice was still full of excitement. There was finally news of her son, who had been missing for more than 20 years. How could she fall asleep? "I knew you weren't sleeping, so I sent a video to your mailbox. Take a look, there will be a surprise." Chu Xuanyue quickly turned on the computer and clicked on the video file. A chic villa appeared on the screen. It turned out that Yi Qing had just gone to Qin Haodong's house and secretly made a video. Now she had sent it to Chu Xuanyue. "Little Blue, where are we? Why do you want me to look after the building? Don't tell me you want to buy a house in Shanghai? Sister, your imagination is too rich. This is Qin Haodong's home. I just went to his place." As Yi Qing spoke, she told Chu Xuanyue the information she had found. "This kid is really outstanding. He has obtained the title of medical sage at such a young age and has established his own business. He also has his own team. His future is limitless." From the current situation, this Qin Haodong is very likely to be your lost son. But in the end, it still depends on the DNA test. If he's the son of me and brother Zongheng, then he'll definitely be outstanding. Chu Xuanyue stared at the computer screen while chatting with Yi Qing. At this time, Qin Haodong's handsome face appeared on the screen. She jumped up from the bed and exclaimed, "Similar, it's too similar. This is simply a replica of brother Zongheng when he was young." Then she realized that not only did Qin Haodong look very much like Qin Zongheng, but his every move and speech revealed Qin Zongheng's shadow. "Son, this is my son. I finally see you. Sister, don't worry. Wait until I get the DNA test. Don't make a mistake and become a joke." Yi Qing teased, "Don't be so sure. Brother-in-law has been missing for so many years. Maybe he had another child with someone else." Chu Xuanyue's emotions calmed down a little and she said, "Little girl, you're talking nonsense again. Brother Zongheng is not that kind of person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have run away from home on his wedding night." As she spoke, she saw the little fellow and quickly asked, "Whose child is this? Why is she so cute?" "I heard her call Qin Haodong daddy. What do you think?" "Oh my god, I already have a granddaughter. I'm a grandmother." Chu Xuanyue was excited again. "That's enough, old lady. Aren't you biased? When I wanted to call you mom, you insisted on calling me sister. You said that you were afraid of calling you old. Now you're willing to be a grandmother. Why aren't you afraid of being called old? Little girl, who are you calling old lady? She's still young." Chu Xuanyue said discontentedly, "I picked you up. You can call her whatever you want, But this is my granddaughter. I'm her grandmother. Yi Qing curled her lips and said, You're thinking too much. Qin Haodong is just 21 years old. How could he have such an old daughter? This is his adopted daughter. Chu Xianyue finally reacted. I was too happy just now. I forgot about this. This little girl is really too beautiful. I really hope she's my granddaughter. Yi Qing said, You don't have to worry about this. If Qin Haodong is really your son, he will have many children and grandchildren sooner or later. Do you see? There are so many girls living in his house. And each one is more beautiful than the other. Even I am jealous of them. He's almost a beauty collector. I see. She's really beautiful. She's almost as beautiful as I was when I was young. Lin Momo, Li Meiyu and Nalan Wushuang appeared on the screen. Chu Xianyue shouted excitedly. Do you think these are all my daughters-in-law? Old lady, you're really greedy. Yi Qing curled her lips again and said, I don't know which one is his girlfriend, but these girls all seem to have an inexplicable relationship with him. Also, don't be so narcissistic, okay? You weren't as beautiful as I am now when you were young. Nonsense. You didn't see it. I was known as the most beautiful woman in the capital at that time. You're a stunted girl. Old lady, if you say I'm stunted again, I'll go after your son tomorrow. How dare you? You're his aunt. I don't care. We're not related by blood anyway. Okay, you're beautiful. You're more beautiful than me, okay? After bickering for so many years, this was the first time Chu Xianyue had admitted defeat. Then she said excitedly, Xiaoqing, hurry up and get the DNA test done. Don't be so slow, okay? I really can't wait. Sister, can you be more reasonable? Your hair hasn't been sent yet. Where can I get a DNA test? Your hair will be delivered tomorrow. But what about Qin Haodong's? Do you want me to go over and draw his blood and pull out his hair? Chu Xianyue said. Then hurry up and think of a way. It's already the middle of the night. Where do you want me to think of a way? Yi Qing said. Forget it, I won't talk to you about this anymore. There's another important thing to tell you. What is it? Tell me. Chu Xianyue replayed the video. Yi Qing said. Today Qin Haodong helped me catch 2 people who were following me. I just interrogated them. They were sent by Han Zixing. They have been following me all this time, but they haven't found out. What? Han Zixing actually sent people to follow you? What does he want? Chu Xuanyue's face immediately turned cold, and then she said, You said that my son helped you catch the people who were following you? Could it be that his cultivation is higher than yours? Speaking of this, Chu Xianyue became excited again. He is indeed my son. He has reached this level in his 20s. Why are you so excited? Qin Haodong helped me catch them. It's not certain whether he is your son or not. Yi Qing said. I feel that his cultivation is not as good as mine. But he seems to have some special method, so he found the 2 people who were following me. Chu Xianyue was still excited and said, No matter what, my son is still very powerful. Tell me, what level has his cultivation reached? Yi Qing said, He broke the front of my Rolls-Royce with 1 kick. According to the situation at that time, it is very likely that he has broken through to the Supreme Power Realm. That's great. He broke through to the Supreme Power Realm at the age of 21. Back then, Brother Zongheng was known as the rare martial arts genius of the Qin family. My son is even better than him. Yi Qing said helplessly. Sister, I'm talking to you about the stalking. Don't keep talking about your son, okay? Oh. Chu Xianyue came back to her senses and said again, Why did Han Zixing send someone to follow you again? Yi Qing said, I don't know. They are only responsible for reporting my information. But it's easy to guess. I told you that he had bad intentions towards you and the Haodong company, but you didn't believe me. Now he has revealed his fox tail. I will settle the score with Han Zixing tomorrow. Yi Qing said, It's a small matter whether you settle the score or not. You have to be more careful in the future. Chu Xianyue said, I know what I'm doing. You should do the DNA identification first. The next morning, Han Zixing sat in his office and said to the housekeeper in front of him, What did you say? The 2 people responsible for tracking Yi Qing can't be contacted? The housekeeper said, Yes, boss. We haven't been able to contact them since midnight last night. It seems that they are probably dead. Damn it! Han Zixing slammed the teacup on the table on the ground and said angrily, "Aren't they the tracking experts you hired at a high price? How did they find out?" Cold sweat broke out on the housekeeper's forehead, and he said in a low voice, "Boss, these two people are indeed experts in tracking. They have been following the little witch for such a long time, and nothing has happened. Who knew that they would suddenly lose contact?" Han Zixing took a deep breath and calmed his anger. He said, "You go out first. Immediately send someone to find the whereabouts of those two people, and see if they have fallen into the hands of the little witch." "Yes, master." The housekeeper answered and turned to leave. As soon as he left, the door was pushed open from the outside. Chu Xianyue walked in angrily. Han Zixing's originally gloomy face was instantly filled with a smile like a blooming flower. "Xiao Yu, you're here. Sit down, I'll make you tea." "No need," Chu Xianyue said angrily. "Han Zixing, let me ask you, why did you send people to follow Yi Qing?" Han Zixing still said with a smile on his face, "Xiao Yu, we grew up together. If there's anything, we can talk about it. There's no need to get angry." Chu Xianyue said, "You must give me an explanation now. Otherwise, we'll break up and never see each other again. Your temper hasn't changed at all after so many years." Han Zixing placed a cup of brewed tea in front of Chu Xianyue and said, "Yes, I sent them, but I did it for your own good." Chu Xianyue said angrily, "Nonsense. Don't you know that Yi Qing is my sister? Why did you send people to follow her?" Chapter 550. I've already told you. Listen to me slowly. Han Zixing said, "Haodong Group was built by you, but now Yi Qing is getting more and more powerful. Many people in Haodong Group only know that she is the CEO, but they don't know that you are the chairman. I was afraid that one day, she would do something to let you down. You had already been hurt once, and I didn't want to see you hurt again, so I sent someone to keep an eye on her. But don't worry, I really don't have any ill intentions towards you. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. Yi Qing is my sister, so she's no different from my daughter. What's mine is hers. In the future, I'll hand over the entire group to her." Han Zixing said, "You're right. You do treat Yi Qing as your daughter, but there's no blood relationship between you. She's not your biological daughter. How could she treat you sincerely? Who knows, one day she might be the one to do it." "I'll stab you," Chu Xianyue said. "Han Zixing, let me tell you, it's useless to sow discord. If I find out that you sent someone to follow Yi Qing in the future, I will definitely not spare you." Han Zixing sighed and said with a sad expression, "Xiaoye, it's been so many years. Can't you see my sincerity towards you? I haven't married for so many years, because I'm waiting for the day you change your mind. I don't have any extravagant wishes in this life. I just want to be happy with you and have a lovely child. I know you treat Yi Qing as your daughter, but she's not your biological child after all. We can have our own child, so why should we rely on outsiders?" "Han Zixing, how many times have I told you that it's impossible between us? I only have brother Zongheng in my heart. Just give up." After Chu Xianyue finished speaking, she slammed the door and left. Han Zixing's face darkened again. He said with a sinister expression, "You shameless woman. Sooner or later, you will kneel down and beg me." At 8 o'clock in the evening, they arrived at the Shanghai Convention and Exhibition Center on time. Those who came to the banquet were all big consortiums with tens of billions of yuan. The parking lot became a luxury car show for a while. Luxury cars worth tens of millions of yuan were everywhere. In contrast, Qin Haodong's Mercedes-Benz SUV looked a little shabby. He parked the car and walked to the banquet with Lin Momo. The financial summit was extremely strict with the participants. No matter who it was, they had to go through the screening before they could enter. As soon as they arrived at the entrance, 2 uniformed security guards stopped them. "Sir, are you here to attend the banquet?" The security guard looked Qin Haodong up and down, feeling that he was not a millionaire with a net worth of more than 10 billion yuan. Qin Haodong nodded and took out the golden invitation card. After seeing the invitation, the security guard was taken aback. Then he revealed a puzzled look. He took the invitation in his hand and examined it carefully. Then, he sent it to the electronic detector next to him for an electronic scan. The invitations issued by the Haodong group were all specially made. Not only did they look extremely exquisite, but they were also equipped with electronic chips that recorded the owner's personal information. After a beep, Qin Haodong's personal information immediately appeared on the electronic screen. After confirming that there was no problem with the invitation card, the two security guards immediately became extremely respectful. They saluted Qin Haodong and Lin Momo and said, "Welcome to the banquet. Please come in." Qin Haodong didn't care about this. He took back the invitation and walked to the banquet hall with Lin Momo. There was still half an hour before the banquet officially began, but the place was already bustling with noise. For this kind of commercial banquet, the people who came to participate generally had their own purposes. Most of them wanted to expand their contacts through the banquet and find as many business opportunities as possible that were beneficial to their own industry. This was also the main reason why Lin Momo advocated attending the banquet. Qin Haodong was not good at this kind of communication, nor was he keen on it. He left it to Lin Momo. He chose some of his favorite delicacies and sat in the corner to slowly taste them. Zhou Xinju came to the banquet wearing a low-cut black evening dress. Everywhere she went, she immediately attracted the attention and exclamations of countless people, which made her extremely satisfied. In the past, when she attended this kind of banquet, many people surrounded her and flattered her. However, that was only because she was the eldest daughter of the Zhou family and could bring countless wealth to those people. But today was different. She could see that many people looked at her with pure eyes. It was the kind of pure eyes that men had for women. They even stared at her towering chest. Although she didn't like the eyes of those people, she was secretly happy that her charm had increased. She was no longer the flat-chested woman from before. Occasionally, when she met one or two women who had laughed at her before, she could see the surprise, envy, and jealousy in their eyes. She enjoyed this feeling very much. To describe it in an advertisement, it was good to be a woman. At the same time, there was a kind of regret in her heart. She knew who had brought all this to her, but that person could not attend the banquet tonight. It would be great if he could be her partner. Recently, every time she thought of Qin Haodong's handsome face, there was a burst of heat in her heart. This was a feeling that she had never felt before. She slowly walked into the banquet while dealing with many men who tried to hit on her. In the middle of the venue, two handsome young men were holding wine glasses and chatting. From time to time, some ladies and noble women came over to strike up a conversation, but they were all rejected. They were Sun Qian from the Sun family and Zheng Hongliang from the Zheng family. They were the core third-generation heirs that their families had focused on training. Today, they had come to attend the banquet on behalf of their families. It had to be said that both of them had the capital to be proud of. They were handsome, graduated from a famous foreign university, had a high status in the family, and had already taken over part of the family business. They were very competitive for the throne of the family head. Sun Qian saw Zhou Xinju walking over leisurely. He glanced at her perfect figure and exclaimed, "Young Master Zheng, I've long heard that Zhou Xinju's figure has become better. She has changed from a flat figure to a devilish one. I didn't believe it, but now it seems to be true." Zheng Hongliang looked at Zhou Xinju and nodded frequently. This woman's face was flawless before, but her figure was too thin, and she didn't look feminine at all. Now she's really different. Even an international model can't compare to her. Sun Qian said, "Since she's here, let's go and have a look." Zheng Hongliang nodded and walked side by side with Sun Qian to Zhou Xinju. They were all core members of their families. They had met many times on such occasions before, so they were very familiar with each other. Sun Qian put on a pose that he thought was very handsome and said, "Xinju, you're so beautiful tonight. You're the highlight of the whole banquet." Zheng Hongliang said, "That's right. It's said that a girl changes 18 times as she grows up. The more she changes, the more beautiful she becomes. Xinju, you didn't change 18 times at all, but 72 times. You've become a fairy." Zhou Xinju smiled and said, "I'm still me. I haven't changed much. It's you who have changed. You're getting better and better at making girls happy." Sun Qian said, "Xinju, The old master asked you to attend this banquet on behalf of the Zhou family. It seems that he wants to train you as the heir of the family. Zhou Xinju smiled and said, "It's just a banquet. It doesn't mean anything." Zheng Hongliang said, "That's different. Don't you see what kind of banquet it is? It's a banquet for the financial summit held by the Haodong Group. Ordinary people may not be able to get in for their entire lives." At this point, a proud expression appeared on his face. One had to know that he had spent a lot of effort in his family to get this spot. To be able to represent the Zheng family to attend this banquet was already a very good thing. Zhou Xinju said, "I don't think as much as you think. I just came here to broaden my horizons and learn from all the big shots." Sun Qian glanced greedily at Zhou Xinju's curvaceous figure and quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "Xinju, our Sun family has recently opened a new top entertainment city. The conditions are good in all aspects. Why don't we go there to sing and dance after the banquet?" This kind of invitation was very common in upper-class banquets. There was a deep meaning in it. Generally, after singing and dancing, they would roll in the sheets. "I'm sorry, young Master Sunday. I haven't been feeling well recently. I need to go back and rest after the banquet." Zhou Xinju unceremoniously refused Sun Qian's invitation. The relationship between the Sun family, the Zheng family, and the Zhou family was very delicate. They had a lot of cooperation, but at the same time, they were also competitors. They were always on guard against being swallowed by each other. The most important thing was that she didn't have a good impression of the two people in front of her. She even felt disgusted. At this moment she was stunned. She saw Qin Haodong, who was eating in the corner. "I'm sorry, young masters. Excuse me. I saw an important friend." After that, she lifted the hem of her dress and hurried into the banquet. Sun Qian and Zheng Hongliang's faces sank at the same time. What did she mean? An important friend? Did she mean that they were not important? Then, when they saw Zhou Xinju come to Qin Haodong like a happy swallow, their expressions changed again. The young man in front of them was the common enemy of the Sun family and the Zheng family. "Haodong, you're here." Zhou Xinju sat next to Qin Haodong and naturally put her hands on his arm. This kind of intimate gesture made many men next to them jealous. Then, Zhou Xinju seemed to realize something and asked in a low voice, "Haodong, how did you get in?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "What's so strange about that? I came in through the door." Zhou Xinju asked, "Did you get the invitation?" After Qin Haodong made the phone call, she made a lot of efforts, but she still couldn't get an invitation to the financial summit. In her opinion, although Qin Haodong was very capable, he was a newcomer in the business world of Shanghai. He couldn't be compared with the Zhou family, let alone get an invitation from Yi Qing. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "I got it." "How is that possible?" Zhou Xinju asked in surprise. "I thought of a lot of ways for you, but I couldn't get it." "How did you get it?" Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Yi Qing sent it to my home last night." Zhou Xinju punched him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't be serious. He's the CEO of the Haodong Group, the number 2 person with real power. How could he send you an invitation?" Qin Haodong smiled helplessly. Nowadays, why didn't anyone believe the truth? Zhou Xinju leaned against his ear and whispered, "Did you sneak in?" Qin Haodong smiled again. He really had no interest in explaining this kind of thing. Zheng Hongliang looked at the intimate expression between Zhou Xinju and Qin Haodong. His face became gloomier, and he said in a cold voice, "Young Master Sun, I heard that your Sun family has been doing a lot recently. You're renovating your house, right?" Sun Qian's face darkened. He was obviously mocking the Sun family for being destroyed by Qin Haodong. Chapter 551. Young Master Zheng, I heard that your brother, Zheng Hongda, put on a nude performance in Shanghai a few days ago. It's already on the hot search list. It's really eye-opening. Sun Qian was naturally unwilling to be outdone, and immediately retorted. Zheng Hongliang's expression froze. And then he said, "Your brother Sun Jin was also kicked out of the Sun family with his legs broken." Sun Qian suddenly looked at Zheng Hongliang and then sighed. "Forget it, what's the point of talking about this? He's our common enemy. That's right, this kid is our common enemy, Zheng Hongliang said. Are you interested in joining forces to mess with him and make him lose all his face here? Sun Jing quickly shook his head and said, forget it. You just said that my brother's legs were broken, and he was kicked out of the Sun family. The old man naturally has his own plan. I can't act recklessly. Sun Xingtian's punishment of Sun Jin caused a great uproar in the Sun family. At the same time, it also served as a warning to others. Everyone had seen the old man's attitude, so no one dared to provoke Qin Haodong again. Zheng Hongliang said, young master Sun, are you scared out of your wits? Sun Qian shook his head with a wry smile. It's useless to be brave. It will only bring disaster to oneself. Zheng Hongliang said, in fact, we don't need to do anything. We can also make this guy lose face. Sun Qian looked up at him and asked, do you have a way? Tell me about it. He hated Qin Haodong to the core now. If there was such an opportunity, of course, he would not let it go. Zheng Hongliang said, this guy is indeed very powerful. Now the Daddy Security Company is also very famous, and some people even put them above our three big families. But so what? It's a commercial society now. It's useless to rely on force alone. Money is the king. Do you think he can attend today's banquet with his Daddy Security Company or his identity? Sun Qian's eyes lit up. He seemed to have thought of something and asked, what do you mean, young master Zheng? Zheng Hongliang smiled and said, do you still need to ask? It's impossible for him to get an invitation from the Haodong group. This guy must have sneaked in with his own skills. As long as we tell the management of the venue, he will naturally be driven out. At that time, we can just stand by and watch him make a fool of himself. Besides, he asked for it himself, so he can't blame others at all. Young Master Zheng, it's really a good idea. Sun Qian gave Zheng Hongliang a thumbs up. Just then, a slightly chubby middle-aged man walked over with a kind smile on his face. His surname was Zhang, and he was the manager appointed by Yi Qing. He was in charge of today's banquet. Zheng Hongliang stepped forward and said, Steward Zhang, I have something to tell you. Someone has sneaked into today's banquet. I'm not. Someone really did sneak in. Manager Zhang said, Hongliang, Sun Hongliang. You master. I'm not joking with you. Someone really sneaked in. If you don't believe me, you can ask young master Sun. Sun. After, Zheng Qian Zheng. Zheng Sun. On masters, of Sun. Young masters, where is the person you were talking about? Zheng Hongliang pointed to Qin Haodong and said, it's him. How could a security company owner have tens of billions of assets? It's impossible for him to get President Ye's invitation. So he must have sneaked in. Sun Qian added, look at his outfit. It's only 1,000 or 2,000 yuan in total. Although he has a security company, a bumpkin is a bumpkin. People in our circle can still tell at a glance. Steward Zhang looked at Qin Haodong, who was talking happily with Zhou Xinju. Indeed, this person's clothes were too ordinary. He was out of place with the rich and noble next to him. Moreover, looking at the way he was eating, he was gulping down big mouthfuls. He didn't look like a gentleman at all. Thinking of this, he had already believed most of Zheng Hongliang's words, and immediately walked in the direction of Qin Haodong. Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian looked at each other and smiled. It seemed that their plan had succeeded. The two of them also walked over, wanting to see how Qin Haodong would be driven out of here. When Zhou Xinju saw these people coming over, she had a bad feeling in her heart. She asked, Steward Zhang, what's the matter? Steward Zhang smiled formally and said, Miss Zhou, it's nothing. I just want to see this gentleman's invitation. Then he looked at Qin Haodong. Zhou Xinju immediately understood and said angrily, Zheng Hongliang, Sun Qian, were you two behind this? She had the same idea as these two people. She thought that Qin Haodong had sneaked in. Hearing that the two people's surnames were Sun and Zheng, how could Qin Haodong not understand what was going on? He looked at them coldly. Sun Qian quickly lowered his head. He didn't even have the courage to look at them. In contrast, Zheng Hongliang was calmer. He spread out his hands and said, Xinju, you misunderstood. We just happened to pass by. This has nothing to do with us. Steward Zhang naturally knew how to behave. He said with a smile, "Indeed, this is my personal idea. It has nothing to do with the two young masters. I just want to see this gentleman's invitation." Qin Haodong turned his gaze to Steward Zhang and said, "Give me a reason." Steward Zhang said with a little embarrassment, "Sir, please don't mind me. I just think you look unfamiliar, so I want to see your invitation." Qin Haodong pointed to the people at the banquet and said, "Steward Zhang, there are so many people. Do you know all of them? Or do you want to check everyone's invitation again?" Although he had brought an invitation, this guy was only checking him, which was obviously discriminatory. Naturally, he wouldn't give in so easily. However, when Steward Zhang heard this, he was even more convinced that this man didn't have an invitation, but was bluffing. He said, "Sir, it's my duty to check the invitation. Please cooperate with me." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, I can't cooperate with you. If you don't trust me, you can ask the security guard at the door." Zheng Hongliang sneered and said, "Are you not cooperating or not? The threshold for this financial summit held by the Haodong Group is tens of billions of assets. Some people don't seem to be qualified to enter at all." The formal smile on Steward Zhang's face disappeared, and he said in a cold voice, "Sir, if you can't show me your invitation, please leave." The conversation had attracted a lot of people's attention, and they all looked over. Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian were both proud. This guy was about to be kicked out. It was really satisfying. Zhou Xinju said anxiously, "Steward Zhang, this is my friend." Steward Zhang said, "Miss Zhou, you have an invitation, so you are our distinguished guest. But this gentleman doesn't have an invitation, so he is not a member here. I can only perform my duty. Otherwise, if Boss Yi finds out, she will punish me." Qin Haodong's face darkened. How could this guy be so sure that he didn't have an invitation? Was he like a person who had sneaked in? Just as he was thinking about whether to turn hostile, Zhou Xinju said, "Steward Zhang, according to the rules of this summit, I am a member and can recommend other new members. Now I officially recommend Qin Haodong to be a member of this summit." Zheng Hongliang sneered and said, "Xinju, you're right. There is such a rule in the terms of the summit, but it requires the recommendation of 4 members. It's not enough to rely on you alone. If I help with Sun Qian, it will be possible. Unfortunately, we are not willing to help." Speaking of this, he smiled proudly, as if he had already seen Qin Haodong being driven out of the club by the security guards. "You need 4 members. Count me in." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a tall woman walking over. It was the patriarch of the Japanese Yagyu family, Yagyu Yukime. Walking to the front of Steward Zhang, Yagyu Yukime said, "I recommend Mr. Qin to be a member of our summit. At the same time, I officially announce that anyone who is Mr. Qin's enemy is the enemy of our Yagyu family." As soon as these words came out, the audience was in an uproar. Everyone knew very well who Yagyu Yukime was. She was the new patriarch of the Japanese Yagyu family. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also ruthless. She was a real power figure. Her family, and its affiliated families, had more than a dozen financial groups. At this financial summit, many people had the idea of cooperating with the Yagyu family. They had not expected that such a person would publicly stand up to support Qin Haodong. This made many people who did not know Qin Haodong full of curiosity. Who was this young man? How could he have such a great personality? Sun Qian and Zheng Hongliang secretly gritted their teeth. What was so good about this toy boy? Why did so many beautiful women have a special liking for him? Why was it that no one liked him when he was so handsome and outstanding? Zheng Hongliang said, "Even with the patriarch of the Yagyu family, there are only 2 people. They haven't met the requirements of the summit. Then count me in as well." With a stiff Huaxia accent, Maldini Jr. appeared in front of Qin Haodong. The people who had just calmed down were boiling again. In terms of status in the financial world, Maldini Jr. was definitely above Yagyu Yukime. The Midas investment company he controlled was one of the most influential investment companies in the world. Countless people were looking forward to the day when they could become the investment target of the company. In addition, Maldini Jr. had a very powerful father, Old Maldini, who was a top boss in the global financial world. His sneeze could make the global financial market tremble. It could be said that Maldini Jr. was the most influential person at this financial summit besides Yi Qing. "Dear Mr. Qin, we meet again." Maldini Jr. gave Qin Haodong an affectionate bear hug. Then he turned around and said to the crowd, "Like the beautiful Miss Yagyu, I officially announce that Mr. Qin is a friend of our Maldini family. His enemy is my enemy." As soon as he finished speaking, the audience was silent. They looked at Qin Haodong with shock and respect. What was the background of this young man, who could make the Maldini family a friend? Was he the illegitimate son of a political giant? Or was he the core heir of a big family? Steward Zhang was shocked by the scene in front of him. If there was only Zhou Xinju, he could completely ignore it. But now, Yagyu Yukaim and Maldini Jr. were standing next to Qin Haodong. Did he really dare to send someone to drive such a person out of the venue? However, the current situation was difficult to get off. He couldn't drive them away, nor could he retreat. Zheng Hongliang suppressed his inner jealousy and said again, "Including Mr. Maldini Jr., there are only 3 people. There is still one short of the 4 members required by the summit." In his opinion, the members present were all noble. It was already very good that Qin Haodong had found 3. It was impossible for him to find a 4th. But at this moment another clear voice sounded. "And me." Chapter 552. Seeing Kim Jihyun coming, even Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. It was expected that Yagyu Yukaim and Maldini Jr. would help him. But it was really beyond his expectation that this woman from Korea would also stand on his side. Kim Jihyun walked into the crowd and stood side by side with Yagyu Yukaim. "Mr. Qin is my most respected teacher. Anyone who is his enemy is also the enemy of our Kim group." At this moment, everyone's hearts were about to collapse. Although this financial summit was of a very high standard, and there were major consortiums from all over the world, the top 3 were M country's Midas Investment Company, Japan's Yagyu family, and Korea's Kim group. Now the heads of the 3 consortiums stood on Qin Haodong's side, which shocked everyone. In particular, Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian were extremely shocked. They had thought that Qin Haodong had no foundation in Shanghai, so no one would stand up to help him. They didn't expect that he would get such strong help in the blink of an eye. Manager Zhang let out a long sigh of relief, as if a burden had been lifted from his heart. Now that there were 4 people, he finally didn't need to drive Qin Haodong out. At the same time, he hated Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian. How could they do that? How could I drive such a powerful person out? How could I live? The people around recovered from the shock and began to talk. Who is this young man? Is he a prince of some country? I don't know. If I can get the help of these 3 consortiums, I will be so happy. No matter who he is, we have to make friends with him later. Such a powerful person will definitely help our consortiums. While everyone was whispering, Lin Momo came in from outside. She had just walked around the banquet, trying to communicate with the guests present and create some influence for Lin's jewelry, which was about to open for business. However, she was disappointed. All the people who took the initiative to talk to her were attracted by her beauty. They asked her to go out and have sex with her. There were even 2 who went too far and directly offered to keep her as their mistress. No one was interested in Lin's jewelry. With deep disappointment, she returned to Qin Haodong's place, only to see that it was already full of people. She followed Kim Jihyun back to Qin Haodong and asked in surprise, "Haodong, what's going on?" "It's nothing. It's just a small situation." Qin Haodong comforted Lin Momo. He turned around and said to Yagyu Yukaim and the others, "Thank you for your help, but there's no need. I have an invitation." Under everyone's gaze, he took out a golden invitation from Lin Momo's bag and handed it to Manager Zhang. When he saw the color of the invitation, Steward Zhang's heart skipped a beat. As the supervisor of the venue, he naturally understood the significance of this colored invitation letter. This was an invitation letter for the most distinguished guests. Furthermore, Yi Qing had specifically instructed him to give guests with this invitation letter the same treatment as an emperor. But what did he just do? Not only did they want to check the invitation letter of the VIP, but they also wanted to drive them out. If Yi Qing found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, he broke out in a cold sweat and froze there. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Zheng Hongliang said, "Everyone has an invitation letter for today's meeting. What do you mean by taking someone else's? Don't tell me one invitation card can bring two people?" After he finished speaking, the others also recovered from the shock. According to the rules of this summit, everyone had an invitation letter. No bodyguards or friends were allowed to bring it into the venue. What's wrong with this young man? He has just collected 4 recommendation places and obtained membership. Why does he need to use someone else's invitation letter? Yes, it's really unwise. Isn't he looking for trouble for himself? Qin Haodong ignored the discussion next to him and said to Steward Zhang, "Explain to everyone." Steward Zhang wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, "Everyone, this is a supreme VIP invitation letter issued by President Yi. It's different from ordinary invitations. This kind of invitation letter can bring 10 people, let alone 2. At this time, everyone noticed that the invitation letter in Qin Haodong's hand was dazzling gold, while their invitations were all red. Steward Zhang answered the questions in their hearts, but also aroused their curiosity. Just now, the 4 great families stood up to help, and now he got a VIP invitation letter from President Yi. What was the identity of this young man? Zheng Hongliang's face was burning. Just now, he thought that Qin Haodong had sneaked in and was not qualified to get an invitation to the summit. But in the blink of an eye, he took out a supreme VIP invitation letter, which was a level higher than the invitation letter in his hand. How could he bear it? No, he's a medical college student. At best, he has a daddy security company. How could he get a supreme invitation letter from President Yi? Thinking of this, he immediately cried, "Steward Zhang, it's fake. His invitation letter must be fake. Take a look." Steward Zhang turned around and glared at him. "You've tricked me enough, haven't you? Qin Haodong has already taken out the supreme invitation letter. If I run over to check it, isn't that courting death?" At this moment, another cold voice sounded. "Who has the guts to question the invitation letter I sent out?" As soon as the voice fell, Yi Qing walked in from outside. She deserved to be the number 2 figure of the Haodong group. She exuded a powerful aura as she walked, just like a proud queen. Seeing Yi Qing coming, everyone made way for her and let her go straight to Qin Haodong. Yi Qing looked around and finally set her cold eyes on Zheng Hongliang. "Are you questioning the supreme invitation letter I sent out?" Zheng Hongliang suddenly felt a chill rising from his back. Before he came this time, he had vowed in front of old Master Zheng that he would definitely get the greatest benefits for the Zheng family and expand the greatest network. He didn't expect that he would offend Yi Qing before the summit began. If old Master Zheng knew about this, he would probably end up worse than Sun Jin. He quickly said respectfully, "Mr. Yi, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean that. I just haven't seen a golden invitation letter before, so I'm a little curious." Yi Qing said coldly, "Just this once. If there's a next time, don't blame me for revoking your Zheng family's membership." "No, absolutely not." Zheng Hongliang was scared out of his wits. The financial summit held by the Haodong Group had countless commercial resources. If he lost his membership, he would be scared. Sun Qian, who had been silent, secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he had learned his lesson this time and didn't directly stand up against Qin Haodong. Otherwise, he would have ended up like Zheng Hongliang. Yi Qing turned around and said to Steward Zhang next to her, "Who gave you the guts to check the VIP invitation letter in the venue?" "I, Mr. Yi." At this time, Steward Zhang wanted to die. According to the rules, checking the invitation letter was the job of the gatekeeper. After the guests entered the venue, they couldn't casually check it, otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the guests. Not only did he violate the rules, but he also offended such a big shot. This responsibility couldn't be shirked in any case. "Okay, go to the finance department to settle the bill, then leave the Haodong group. Don't come back in the future." Yi Qing's words directly smashed Steward Zhang's job. Steward Zhang's face was ashen. He knew that he had made a terrible mistake today, so he could only leave the banquet in silence. In his heart, he cursed Sun Qian and Zheng Hongliang's ancestors. If it weren't for these two guys, he wouldn't have come to court death. After dealing with the disturbance, Yi Qing said to everyone, "This is my brother Qin Haodong, the most distinguished guest of the Haodong group. If anyone dares to disrespect my brother again, get out of here directly." His words were sonorous and powerful. The entire place was silent, but everyone's hearts were already in a state of shock. They knew very well how arrogant Yi Qing was. It was impossible for ordinary people to meet him on ordinary days. Why did he value this young man so much? Who was he? Although there was no answer for the time being, they all had a firm belief in their hearts. It must be right to be on good terms with this young man. Yi Qing continued, "My brother has started a new jewelry company in Shanghai, Lin's Jewelry. I hope you can come and support us in the future." Qin Haodong was also a little surprised by Yi Qing's reaction. It was not an exaggeration to call this woman a proud daughter of heaven. In the capital, she was even called the Little Witch. Why did she favor him so much? Not only did she specially send him a unique supreme invitation, but she also advertised Lin's Jewelry in public to improve the status of Lin's Jewelry. If it was just to express her apology, he wouldn't believe it himself. When the matter was over, the banquet continued. Qin Haodong said to Yi Qing, "President Yi, thank you for your help. Don't thank me. From now on you are my brother. If you need anything, just come to me." Yi Qing smiled at Qin Haodong and said, "You go ahead. I'm going to get ready. The banquet is about to begin." After that, she left and walked backstage. As soon as Yi Qing left, the others immediately swarmed up and surrounded Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. These people now understood that making friends with the two young people in front of them was equivalent to making friends with the Haodong group, which was equivalent to making friends with Maldini Jr., Yagi Yukheim, and Kim Ji-hyun. Of course, they would not let go of such a good opportunity. For a time, they flattered and fawned over Qin Haodong and Lin Momo, overwhelming them. As for socializing, Qin Haodong left it to Lin Momo. It was not easy for him to rush out of the crowd. Zhou Xinju came over and said, "What's wrong? Don't you like this kind of occasion?" Qin Haodong said indignantly, "These people are really too much. That old man is obviously in his 70s. He doesn't have many years to live, but he still wants to kowtow to me and become sworn brothers with me. Isn't this a trap? And that old man is clamoring to marry his daughter to me. Look at him. He should be at least 80 years old. How old would his daughter be? I don't have such a heavy taste. You can't blame others for this. You are the focus of the whole banquet now. Everyone wants to have a relationship with you." Zhou Xinju giggled and said, "I'm young. Why don't you think about it?" "That's fine," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "When the banquet is over, let's cut off their heads and drink yellow wine. From now on, we will be brothers." Zhou Xinju glared at him charmingly and said, "Go to hell. You know that's not what I mean." Lin Momo was surrounded by many members. Originally, she had walked around in a circle, but none of the business cards she had prepared had been sent out. Now they were all snatched up. Many people also specifically asked about the opening date and location of Lin's Jewelry, and left her contact number. After a busy time, it was time for the banquet to begin. Yi Qing slowly walked to the front stage. Chapter 553. Under Yi Qing's personal chairmanship, the financial summit officially began. However, Qin Haodong did not care about the content of the financial summit or what to do. These were all things that Lin Momo needed to pay attention to. He picked up the red wine from time to time to taste it, and occasionally chatted with Zhou Xinju. More than an hour later, Yi Qing said on the stage, "Let's move on to the last item of today's reception, the charity auction." Qin Haodong was very familiar with auctions, but he was a little surprised. He said to Zhou Xinju, "Why? There's an auction at today's reception?" "Yes, didn't you know beforehand?" Zhou Xinju said. "The charity auction is on the agenda of today's reception. All the participating members know about it, and have already prepared the auction items. All the money from the auction will be donated to the out-of-school children in poor areas of China." Qin Haodong said, President Yi didn't tell us about this. He felt that Yi Qing must have forgotten about it last night. Lin Momo said anxiously, "What should we do? If we can't take out the auction items when it's our turn, it will be very embarrassing." Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. Let's wait and see." He was not particularly worried about the auction items. If there was no other way, he could take out an elixir from the storage ring to auction. He believed that as long as he took out the elixir, Maldini Jr. would buy it without hesitation. The auction officially began. Everyone tasted the red wine in their hands while looking at the front of the auction. Although this was only a charity auction for the upper class, the Haodong group was also very formal. The person in charge of the stage was the chief auctioneer of a famous formal auction house. During the auction, there was a very beautiful MC next to him. The two of them cooperated to organize the auction. Let's start the auction. The first item of today's auction was provided by Mr. Sun Qian. It's a pipe that Mr. Sun's grandfather once used. After the MC's announcement, an etiquette lady immediately sent a tray to the auctioneer. The auctioneer picked up the pipe and said, "This is not an ordinary pipe. It's made of sepia light produced in the Italian Wangli River basin. Now this craft has basically been lost. More importantly, it was once used by Mr. Sunday. Its commemorative significance is greater than the value of the pipe itself." After some introductions, the auction officially began. It was not much different from a traditional charity auction, and the starting price was 1 yuan. Charity auctions held by the rich generally had two meanings. First, the rich who took out the auction items to show that they were generous to charity. These items all had a certain value. Secondly, it depended on the support and respect between the rich and the wealthy. The higher the auction price, the more glory they would have. On the contrary, if they took out an auction item and no one bid for it, even if they spent money to bid for it, they would still lose face. The Sun family was one of the top families in Shanghai. They had made a lot of friends over the years, so someone immediately called out a price for Sun Qian's pipe. 100,000, 120,000, 150,000. After several bids, the pipe was finally sold for 200,000 yuan. In fact, this price had already exceeded the value of the pipe. This made Sun Qian's face light up. He stood up and cupped his fists to express his gratitude to the people around him. 200,000 yuan. Congratulations, Mr. Sunday. You have given your love to the children in the poor area. After a few courteous words, the host continued the auction. After that, more than a dozen items were auctioned in succession. There were all kinds of things, and the highest price reached 3 million. In order to show the public welfare of this auction, there was no fixed order for each item to be auctioned. It was randomly selected by the MC according to the number on the invitation letter. The members who were selected would take out the items they had prepared in advance for the auction. The next person to be selected happened to be Zheng Hongliang. He gave a jade bracelet that he had prepared earlier to the host. When the auctioneer got the jade bracelet, her expression changed slightly and she said, "Mr. Zheng, if I'm not wrong, this is a jade bracelet made of mutton fat jade, right?" Zheng Hongliang said with a smug expression on his face. "Yes, this is a mutton fat jade bracelet I bought a few years ago when I went to Dongjiang province. I also asked someone to identify it. It is indeed a high-quality mutton fat jade." The auctioneer said, "Mr. Zheng is really a philanthropist. For the sake of the children in the poor area, you are willing to give up your treasure. I thank you on behalf of the children. Let's start the bidding." All the people present were billionaires. Many of them could see the value of this jade bracelet. The market price should be more than 1 million yuan. Therefore, when the auction began, the first bidder shouted the price of 1 million yuan. Then one after another, bids came one after another. 1 million, 5 million, 2 million. It could be seen that Zheng Hongliang still had a great influence in the circle. In the end, the jade bracelet was sold for 5 million yuan, becoming the most expensive item in this charity auction so far. "Thank you, my friends." Zheng Hongliang stood up and cupped his hands. His face was full of pride. On the one hand, it showed that he was generous. On the other hand, it also proved that he had a position in this circle. He had friends and people were willing to support him. The auction continued. Perhaps God deliberately wanted to make a little joke. The next guest turned out to be Qin Haodong. Zheng Hongliang looked in his direction, secretly delighted. Brat, it's your bad luck to be ranked behind me. Let's see what you can take out. If it's too weak, you'll definitely lose face under this young master's brilliance. Although the purpose of the auction was to give love to charity, if the price difference between the two auctioned items was too big, it would still be a little embarrassing or even humiliating. Hearing the host read out the number of Qin Haodong's invitation letter, Lin Momo was nervous and whispered, "Haodong, what should we do?" If they had prepared in advance, they could have taken out a piece of jewelry from Lin's jewelry store. However, they had not received any news before, so they had not prepared anything. "Don't worry, I have a way." Qin Haodong patted Lin Momo's hand to comfort her. At this time, the hostess came to him with a tray, waiting to show the auction item. He was also going to take out a physique-improving pill for auction, but at this moment, Yi Qing came over and said to everyone present, "Everyone, the purpose of our auction today is for charity. I don't think the auction item itself is of great significance. The key is to see how much love you can bring out. If the auction item itself is very valuable, it will lose the original intention of a charity auction." After she finished speaking, the complacent look on Zheng Hongliang's face suddenly disappeared. Among the auctions just now, the most expensive item was his mutton fat jade bracelet. Her words were tantamount to a direct denial of his practice. Yi Qing did not look at him and continued, "So, I want to make a little special on Mr. Qin's auction item. He doesn't need to take out any auction item. He only needs to show the simplest thing, so that it can better reflect everyone's love for charity." Everyone at the banquet was immediately curious. They all wanted to know what the simple thing Yi Qing said was, including Qin Haodong. He did not know what Yi Qing was going to do. Under everyone's curious gaze, Yi Qing stretched out her slender fingers, pulled out a hair from Qin Haodong's head, and put it back on the tray next to her. "Well, I announce that the next auction item is Mr. Qin's hair." After Yi Qing finished speaking, she directly asked the hostess to send the tray to the auctioneer. Qin Haodong almost choked on his own saliva. Auctioning hair. What did this female president want to do? The guests at the scene were restless, and they did not understand why Yi Qing asked Qin Haodong to sell a hair. How much could a hair be sold for? If it was sold too little, would it be very shameful? If no one bid, would it be more shameful? A cold smile appeared at the corner of Zheng Hongliang's mouth. His last item was sold for 5 million yuan. How much could a hair of Qin Haodong be sold for? 30 or 50? Who would want a hair for? This was simply asking to be humiliated. The auctioneer's mood was the most complicated. Looking at the shiny black hair on the tray, he felt like he was about to collapse. He had been in this business for almost half of his life. He was the white gloves of the auction house, and the top auctioneer. Countless things had been auctioned by him, but he had never sold a hair. How could he introduce it? Could it be that the owner of this hair was healthy, and did not lack phosphorus or calcium? He simply did not introduce it. He shouted the starting price of 1 yuan, and directly started the auction. "Dear friends, dear guests, it's time to test your love. Please bid for this special auction item." After the auctioneer shouted, there was silence in the hall, and many people did not come back to their senses. At this time, they heard a playful voice say, "I bid 2 yuan. Everyone immediately looked in the direction of the voice. It was Sun Qian who shouted the price. He hated Qin Haodong to the core, but he did not dare to take the initiative to provoke Qin Haodong because of Sun Xingtian's family rules. However, people could bid freely in the auction. He shouted 2 yuan to humiliate Qin Haodong, and no one could find fault with it. Zheng Hongliang reacted immediately and shouted, "I'll pay 3. He also felt a burst of joy in his heart. "Aren't you awesome? Don't you have Yi Qing's protection? But no one can stop me from bidding, right?" But just as he shouted, someone else shouted, "I'll pay 100,000 yuan." As soon as the voice fell, there was an uproar in the hall. Who offered 100,000 yuan for a strand of hair? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, and saw that it was Kim Ji-hyun from the Kim family of Koryo, who raised the number plate in her hand. Qin Haodong smiled. This little girl was really supportive of him today. Just when everyone had not come back to their senses, another clear voice shouted, "I bid 1,000,000 yuan." This time, it was Yagi Yukheim who raised the number plate. Qin Haodong was both her master and her man. Of course, she would not see her master lose face, so she directly increased the price by 10 times. Oh my god, 1,000,000 yuan for a strand of hair. The Yagyu family is really rich. 1,000,000 yuan for a strand of hair. What's on this young man's head? It's not hair, it's a gold bar. The auctioneer also felt like vomiting blood. 1,000,000 yuan for a strand of hair was really rare. But because of his duty, he still had to continue. This Miss Yagyu bids 1,000,000 yuan. Who else is willing to show their love? 1,000,000 yuan once, 1,000,000 yuan twice. When he was about to pick up the auction hammer and end this absurd auction, someone shouted, "I bid 10,000,000 yuan." Chapter 554. Hearing this price, the auctioneer was so scared that his wrist trembled, and he almost dropped the auction hammer on the table. 1,000,000 to buy a strand of hair was already ridiculous enough. How could someone offer 10,000,000? What was going on? Looking in the direction of the voice, Maldini Jr. was holding his number plate and smiling at him. The people present were going crazy. Up until now, the most expensive item in the auction had appeared. It was not gold, silver, or antique jade. It was just a strand of hair. How could they explain this? Looking at the number plate in Maldini Jr.'s hand, Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian were dumbfounded. They could not describe their feelings at the moment. Damn, 10,000,000 to buy a strand of hair. Is this foreigner crazy? Does he have too much money? Naturally, Maldini Jr. was not crazy. On the contrary, he was a very shrewd businessman. The reason he offered such a price was to thank Qin Haodong for curing his father and son's illness. Secondly, it was a very shrewd investment. If Qin Haodong was in a good mood, he could casually give them an elixir that could not be bought with any amount of money. Because of this, he did not hesitate to offer 10,000,000. Zhou Xinju glanced at Qin Haodong next to her, and her eyes flashed. "What are you doing?" Qin Haodong said vigilantly, "I'm considering if I should pull out all your hair. It can be sold for 10,000,000. Even if it is exchanged for gold bars, it is not as valuable as your hair." Qin Haodong did not expect this to happen. 10,000,000 was indeed not a small number. Many families in Huaxia could not see so much money in their entire lives. The auctioneer felt that his strength had been exhausted. He did not want to talk nonsense anymore. He raised the auction hammer in his hand again and shouted, 10,000,000 once, 10,000,000 twice. After that, he was about to knock the hammer down. In his opinion, no one could offer a higher price. 100,000,000. A voice resounded through the hall. The voice was very clear and pleasant to hear, but it was like a thunderbolt. The people present were scorched and could not believe their ears. The person who offered this price was the host of today's summit, Yi Qing, the number 2 figure of the Haodong group. The reason why she came up with such an idea was that she could get a strand of Qin Haodong's hair to do a DNA test with Chu Xuanyue's hair. It was a good idea. She could complete the paternity test without disturbing Qin Haodong. But she didn't expect that before she bid, there would be such a fierce bidding. The price was directly raised to 10,000,000 yuan. In order to achieve this goal, let alone 100,000,000 yuan, even if it was 1 billion yuan, she would not hesitate to take it out. She was determined to get this strand of hair. Silence. The entire venue was silent. 100,000,000 yuan to buy a strand of hair. This was too much. God, what on earth were you trying to do? There was no doubt that Qin Haodong's hair would become the most expensive hair in history. It was unprecedented and would never happen again. Zheng Hongliang's face was even uglier than if his father had died. He took out a high-quality mutton fat jade bracelet and barely sold it for 5,000,000 yuan. In the blink of an eye, a strand of hair had been sold for 100,000,000 yuan. They were both young people in their 20s, but the gap between them was too big. Just now, he wanted to take the opportunity to humiliate Qin Haodong, but now he found that his dignity had been completely trampled under his feet, or it could be said that he had no dignity at all. After a long time, people came back to their senses, and the venue fell into a burst of noise again. What's wrong with President Yi? Is he crazy? Spending 100 million yuan to buy a strand of hair? I don't know. Could it be that he likes that gigolo and wants to make him happy? What on earth does Qin Haodong do? Why does President Yi value him so much? Zhou Xinju whispered in Qin Haodong's ear. What's going on? President Yi doesn't want to keep you, does she? Qin Haodong said with a wry smile. If she wants to keep me, I hope she will give me the 100 million yuan directly instead of donating it. In the end, the auctioneer hit the last hammer of the auction, and Qin Haodong's hair was finally sold for 100 million yuan. Until the end of the auction, the most expensive price of the other auction items did not exceed 10 million yuan, let alone catch up with his 100 million yuan. Compared to before the auction, Qin Haodong found that many people looked at him differently, as if they had the urge to rush over and pull out his hair. At the end of the reception, the guests at the scene dispersed one after another. Qin Haodong also said goodbye to Yi Qing, Maldini Jr., Yagi Yukaim, and Kim Ji-hyun, and invited them to attend the opening ceremony of Lin's jewelry tomorrow. After they left, Yi Qing brought the most expensive strand of hair in history and hurried over to Shanghai Central Hospital. She had already arranged everything, and there were doctors on duty waiting for her. Half an hour later, she hurried back to the hotel with the DNA test report, then took out her mobile phone and dialed Chu Xuanyue's phone number. From last night until now, Chu Xuanyue had been in a state of extreme excitement and had no intention of sleeping at all. After hearing the phone ring, she immediately picked it up. Xiaoqing, how is it? Is there any progress in the DNA test? It's done. The test results are now in my hands. Yi Qing's voice was also full of excitement. Chu Xuanyue asked nervously. Tell me quickly, is this my lost son? Yi Qing said excitedly. The test results show that your DNA is 99% similar to Qin Haodong's. That is to say, he is the stolen son. After that, Chu Xuanyue's excited cry came from the other side of the phone. Son, my poor son, I finally found you. Chu Xuanyue was already choking with tears. She had been separated from her son for more than 20 years. Now she finally knew where her son was. How could she not be excited? Yi Qing waited quietly while Chu Xuanyue vented her excitement. After a long time she said, Well, sister, don't cry. You should be happy to find the lost little Haodong. Chu Xuanyue said excitedly, I don't care. I must see Haodong and my son. It's been more than 20 years. I haven't seen my son for more than 20 years. Sister, don't get excited. It's not the time for you to meet. In contrast, Yi Qing was much calmer. No one can stop me. I have to see him, even if it's from a distance. Yi Qing said, If you come to Shanghai to see someone so rashly, you will definitely attract the attention of the Chu family. Are you sure you won't bring the masters of the Chu family? If Haodong's identity is exposed, I'm afraid this will be the last time you and your son will see each other. Chu Xuanyue shouted angrily, How dare they? If anyone dares to touch my son again, I will fight with him, even if he is my father. Sister, sometimes emotions are useless. Strength decides everything. Even if you want to fight with them, what can you do? I have the highest cultivation on our side, but I am no match for any of the 3 elders of the Chu family. So we must be calm, otherwise we will hurt Haodong. Chu Xuanyue knew that what Yi Qing said made sense. She immediately cried again. But I just want to see my son. We can meet, but we have to find a way to make it so that no one will notice. Chu Xuanyue said, Xiaoqing, you have a way, right? Tell me quickly, how can I see Haodong safely? Yi Qing had indeed come up with an idea. She said, It's been so many years. Although the Chu family is still paying attention to you, it's just a regular surveillance. It's not that strict. Haodong is a doctor, a very good Chinese medicine practitioner. He is known as the medical sage in Jiangnan. My idea is to pretend to be sick from now on, and then I'll invite Qin Haodong to the capital to treat you. At that time, you and your son can meet, or find a suitable opportunity to reunite with each other. Good idea, this is a good idea. Chu Xuanyue said excitedly. Then why should I pretend to be sick? Yi Qing said. I've also thought about this for you. No one will believe you if you say that you are sick. Just say that you are so excited that you can't sleep and have a bad headache. See more doctors tomorrow, and spread the news as much as possible. Chu Xianyue said, Okay, I'll do as you say. You must bring Haodong to me as soon as possible. Yi Qing said, Haodong is really excellent. He has his own business at a young age. Tomorrow his Lin's jewelry will open. After the opening, I'll talk to him and see if he can come back to the capital with me. Okay, I'll wait for you. That night, Chu Xianyue was destined to be another sleepless night. Now she didn't have to deliberately pretend to be sick. Her whole body was in a highly excited state. 2 consecutive days without sleep made her head a little uncomfortable. The strength of the top families was unimaginable. The Sun family mobilized almost all the renovation forces in Shanghai. Within 3 days, the building of Lin's jewelry was completely renovated, completing an almost impossible task. The next day, it was the opening day of Lin's jewelry. Qin Haodong skipped school again and came to the company early with Lin Momo. Since his family's business was open, there were naturally many people from Daddy's security company. Ma Wenjue came early with the company's security guards to maintain order. After the preparation, guests began to come one after another. The first to arrive was Yi Qing, followed by Maldini Jr., Yagi Yukaim, and Kim Ji-hyun. Half an hour later, other members of the financial summit also came to attend the opening ceremony. Almost all the people who attended the reception yesterday, except for the Sun family and the Zheng family, had come to support them. Since last night, Qin Haodong had become the focus of the entire financial world in Shanghai. Businessmen pursued profits. These people now understood that being on good terms with Qin Haodong would inevitably bring them huge benefits. Lin's jewelry was bustling. In the office of Shue's jewelry company opposite, a middle-aged woman in her 50s was looking at them coldly. Her name was Yin Xiaofan, the mother of Shue's jewelry company's owner, Shuezhendi. At this time, the door behind her opened and a young man in his 30s came in, followed by 4 or 5 people, who were also dressed like hooligans. The young man was Yin Xiaofan's son Shuezhendi. He yawned, patted his mouth, and said in a dissatisfied tone, Mom, why did you call me here so early? Can you drink less wine and flirt less with women? Do something serious. Seeing her son like this, Yin Xiaofan suddenly became furious. Your father got a son at an old age. He hoped that you could revitalize the Shui family and bring honor to your ancestors. So he gave you this name. He left early and handed over the whole Shui's jewelry to you. But what did you do? Look at what you've done to the company now. Chapter 555. Mom, why are you so angry in the morning? Shuezhendi said indifferently. What's wrong with the company? Isn't it good? It's still the largest jewelry company in Shanghai. Yin Xiaofan said angrily. Soon it won't be. Didn't you see the opening of Lin's jewelry across the street? If you keep doing this, our company will be closed soon. Shuezhendi was still indifferent. Mom, you're too timid. They're just outsiders. How can they compare with our Shui's jewelry? You have the nerve to say that. 5 years ago, when your father handed Shui's jewelry over to you, the scale of the industry had reached 5 billion yuan. Now look at it. It's getting worse year by year. Last year's valuation was only 3 billion yuan. The more Yin Xiaofan said, the angrier she became. She pointed at Shuezhendi's nose and cried, Look at what you have been doing all these years. What kind of friends have you made? You spend all day drinking, flirting with women, and hanging out with some shady people. How can you be worthy of your father? How can you carry forward Shui's jewelry? Mom, how can you say that? I socialize outside every day, and have made a lot of great friends. Shuezhendi said. Isn't it just the opening of Lin's jewelry? It's no big deal. How can an outsider from a small place compare with our Shui's jewelry? Don't worry. Leave it to me. I'll let them close down right away. Hearing this, Yin Xiaofan's anger subsided a little. From today on, you should focus on taking care of Shui's jewelry. Besides, your father has taught you a long time ago that doing business requires fair competition. Don't always think about doing some crooked things. I know, Mom. Leave the company to me. You go back and have a rest. Shuezhendi said, and pushed Yin Xiaofan out of the door with a grin. Yin Xiaofan sighed. That was all she could do. She hoped that her good-for-nothing son could listen to her. After she left, Shuizhendi glanced at the busy Lin's jewelry across the street and said to several people behind him, "This outsider dares to ride on my head. You guys think of a way to teach them a lesson." A yellow-haired young man said, "Young Master Shui, it's easy. You haven't been out there for nothing all these years. You have a lot of friends. You can make them close the door and get lost with a flick of your finger." "I think so too." Shuizhendi nodded and said proudly, "Devil 6, you have the most ideas. Give me an idea on how to clean up this arrogant Lin's jewelry." The yellow-haired young man said, "That's easy. You have a lot of connections and friends in Shanghai. You can just find a few friends from the underworld or the legal world to deal with them." Shuizhendi said, "Well said. I'll call Black Hawk now." The yellow-haired youth said, "Black Hawk has many brothers under him. Just call a few dozen of them, and that outsider will be scared to the point of wetting his pants." At Lin's jewelry, more and more guests came to congratulate them. Zhou Xinzhu and Zhou Tao came hand in hand, along with Dong Biqing, the director of the Public Security Bureau. After them, the gangsters led by Wang Jinlong and Xiong Taijun came one after another. After Qin Haodong and the Daddy Security Company swept the Sun family, they had established their supreme position in Shanghai. "Boss, we're here. This is a small token of our respect. Please accept it." The opening of a business was such a big event, so these people naturally rushed to please them and gave their gifts. So a strange scene appeared in Lin's jewelry company. There were financial giants with hundreds of billions of yuan, the director of the Public Security Bureau in a high position, and the gangsters with tattoos all over their bodies. Qin Haodong and Lin Momo were busy entertaining the guests. At this time, a group of gangsters came from the opposite side. These people were holding short knives and steel pipes in their hands, looking aggressive. The leader looked fierce, and his face was full of muscles. He was bare-chested, with a huge black eagle tattooed on his chest, and a steel pipe more than 1 meter long in his hand. "Who's in charge here? Come out." This person was the Black Eagle that Shuizhendi had mentioned. He was a gangster, but in fact he was just a small gangster. He was not on the same level as Golden Dragon, Xiong Taijun, and the others at all. He didn't know what kind of person Qin Haodong was. Qin Haodong frowned. Today was a happy day for the opening. He didn't want too much trouble. He turned to Golden Dragon and said, "Go and see what's going on." Seeing that there were gangsters looking for trouble on the Grand Supreme Boss's opening day, this was simply a slap in the face. Golden Dragon and Xiong Taijun were furious and immediately rushed over with their men. "Black Eagle, do you want to die? How dare you come here to make trouble?" Golden Dragon stepped forward and slapped Black Eagle in the face. Black Eagle had just received a call from Shuizhendi, saying that a country bumpkin from a small place was competing with Shui's jewelry for business. He was asked to bring people to smash the place and give him 1 million yuan as a reward. He thought it was easy to bully a nouveau riche from another place. He never dreamed that he would meet Golden Dragon and Xiong Taijun here. Compared with these two bosses of the Sanjiang society and the biker gang, he was nothing. After being slapped, Black Eagle didn't lose his temper at all. He said with a flattering face, "Boss Golden Dragon, Boss Xiong, you are here too." Xiong Taijun said, "What the hell are you doing here? Today is the opening day of my boss's business. Are you looking for trouble? Are you tired of living?" Black Eagle secretly complained and cursed Shuizhendi's ancestors in his heart. "Didn't you say you were a nouveau riche from another place? Didn't you say you had no foundation or background?" Now even the bosses of the Sanjiang society and the biker gang call him boss. He is such a powerful person. How dare you ask me to smash his place? Isn't this too much? Thinking of this, he quickly said, "Bosses, you misunderstood me. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to congratulate the opening." Golden Dragon slapped him in the face again. "Do you think I'm a fool? How can you congratulate with a steel pipe?" Black Eagle knew very well that if he was determined to look for trouble, he wouldn't be able to survive in the underworld of Shanghai in the future. He held up the steel pipe in his hand and said, Boss, you misunderstood me. I brought this thing just to do a pole dance to liven things up. Xiong Taijun said. Bullsh asterisk T. Who the hell wants to see you do a pole dance? Since you're here to congratulate, did you bring a gift? Yes, I did. Black Eagle quickly threw away the steel pipe in his hand and took out all the banknotes in his pocket. Then he turned around and shouted to the gangsters behind him. Who brought money? Hurry up and take it out for me. These gangsters also knew that they were in big trouble. They quickly threw away the steel pipes and knives in their hands and took out their banknotes one after another. Some people even took out the coins in their pockets. In the end, they collected 30 or 40,000 yuan and handed it all to Xiong Taijun. Shuezhendi and Devil Six stood on the 5th floor of Shue's jewelry, holding binoculars in their hands, ready to watch the scene of Lin's jewelry being smashed. However, they didn't expect that Black Eagle would come aggressively with his men, but he didn't do anything. On the contrary, he took out all the money in his pocket and gave it to them as a gift. Shuezhendi scolded. What the hell is Black Eagle doing? I asked him to smash the place. How did he become a gift? He usually calls us brothers, but he can't help us at the critical moment. I'll go and ask him now. What's going on? As he spoke, he was about to go downstairs to find Black Eagle to settle the score. Devil Six quickly stopped him. Young master, you can't go at this time, or Lin's jewelry will find out that we did it. Shuezhendi cried angrily. What should I do? I can't swallow it. Can't I just watch Lin's jewelry open up? Devil Six said. Don't be angry, young master. I think something must have happened to Black Eagle. But it doesn't matter. Since the underworld can't do it, let's find the legal way. This area is the territory of the South City branch. You are friends with Deputy Director Zhao Guin. Ask him to do you a favor. Say that there are fugitives among the employees of Lin's jewelry, and bring all the staff back to the branch for investigation. Let's see how he can open his business then. That's a good idea. I'll call Director Zhao now. With our relationship, he will definitely help. Then Shuezhendi took out his mobile phone and dialed a series of phone numbers. A few minutes later, he hung up the phone, looked at Lin's jewelry and said proudly, You can wait to close down. At Lin's jewelry, Qin Haodong had just asked Golden Dragon and several others to drive Black Eagle away. Unexpectedly, a dozen uniformed policemen rushed over after a while. Shuezhendi stood in front of the window with binoculars. When he saw these people, he said excitedly, Director Zhao is a good buddy. He came so soon. Let's see what Lin's jewelry can do this time. Devil Six said with a flattering face. What else can we do? Close down. A foreign upstart wants to fight with you, young Master Shui. They're still far from it. Shuezhendi said proudly. Of course, I haven't been out for so many years for nothing. Among the policemen, Zhao Guin, the deputy director of the South City branch, walked into the crowd and shouted arrogantly, Who is in charge here? Qin Haodong naturally couldn't let Golden Dragon and others come forward to deal with these policemen. He stepped forward and said, I am. What can I do for you? Zhao Guin had indeed received a lot of benefits from Shuezhendi over the years. Now he was about to show his power and close the place in the name of investigating fugitives. But he saw Dong Biqing standing next to Qin Haodong at a glance. As the deputy director of the branch, how could he not know the boss of the Shanghai Public Security Bureau? He was so scared that his face turned pale and he stammered, Dong. Director Dong. He didn't expect to meet the highest officer of the entire Shanghai public security system here. It seemed that he had come to send a congratulatory gift to Qin Haodong. Needless to say, this young man's identity was not simple since Dong Biqing had come to congratulate him in person. Damn Shuezhendi, why didn't he make things clear and said that the other party had no background? Isn't he setting me up? Dong Biqing glanced at him and asked in a cold voice, Zhao Guin, what are you doing here? Seeing that the director's expression was not good, the cold sweat on Zhao Guin's forehead suddenly flowed down. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, Director, this is the jurisdiction of our South City branch. I heard that there is an important business opening in the jurisdiction. We want to come over and see if there is anything we need to do. After all, serving enterprises is also part of our job. His words were so impassioned and powerful that he even admired himself. How could I be so smart? My reaction was so fast. Chapter 556. Sure enough, Dong Biqing was very satisfied with his attitude. He nodded and said, "Xiao Zhao, that's a good idea. Service is also part of our job." He turned around and said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, if there's anything you need to do here, just tell them. Don't be shy." Zhao Guiying breathed a sigh of relief, and then said with a flattering face, "Yes, don't be shy with me. Just tell me what you need." "In that case, I won't be shy," Qin Haodong said. "There are a lot of guests today, and the cars are a little crowded. Director Zhao, please arrange your people to help me arrange the cars." "Okay, no problem. Leave it to me. I'll do it for you, Mr. Qin." Zhao Guiying agreed and left in a hurry. He took his men to the parking lot and helped the people of Daddy's security company direct the traffic. "Bastard, what are they doing?" Shuizhendi threw the binoculars in his hand to the ground. No wonder he was angry. First, he found a group of people from the underworld, but when he got there, he was pole dancing for them and gave them red packets. Now he used the power of the underworld, but the deputy director became a traffic policeman and directed the traffic for them. "No, I have to find out, or I won't be able to swallow it." Then he took out his mobile phone and dialed Black Hawk's number. But before he could speak, he heard Black Hawk say coldly, "Shui, you're cheating me, aren't you? Didn't you say that they have no background? It turns out that they're all gangsters. I'm telling you, you have to pay me back all the money I gave you today. Not a penny less, or I won't let you go." After that, Black Hawk hung up the phone with a bang, leaving Shuizhendi with a dull face. He didn't expect that the person who had been calling him brother in daily life would turn hostile and ask him to pay for the gift. Wasn't that equivalent to him giving gifts to the opening of Lin's jewelry? "Black Hawk, you bastard, I didn't pay you for anything." Shuizhendi scolded him fiercely, and then dialed Zhao Guiying's number again. This time he took the initiative. As soon as the phone was connected, he rushed to say, "Director Zhao, what's going on? Why are you a traffic policeman?" "It's all because of you." Zhao Guiying had a bellyful of anger. No matter what, he was a dignified deputy director of a branch office. But now he had been reduced to someone else's servant. This was all thanks to Shuizhendi. "I'm telling you, from now on, let's make a clean break. For the sake of our past relationship, I'll remind you that you can't afford to offend Lin's jewelry." He was directing the vehicles here, and had already figured out the situation of the guests in Lin's jewelry. Who were these people? They were all big shots with a net worth of more than 10 billion yuan. Shui's jewelry couldn't afford to offend any one of them. These people were very respectful to Qin Haodong, as if they were meeting their ancestors. It could be seen how terrifying this young man's background was. Not to mention that Shui Zhen was the first idiot-rich second generation. Even if his father was alive, he would never be the opponent of Lin's jewelry. Closing down has become an inevitable choice. Listening to the busy tone on the phone, Shuizhendi was completely dumbfounded. He never dreamed that Lin's jewelry was so powerful. The underworld couldn't do it, and the legal way couldn't do it. What could he do? "Devil 6, your brain is the best. Hurry up and think for me. What else can we do?" At this point, what could Devil 6 do? He said, "Chairman, in fact, you don't have to worry. Our old store has been open for so many years, and has many regular customers. Although Lin's jewelry has a strong network, they are new after all. They can't compete with us in normal business competition. As long as we push down the price of goods, I believe it won't be long before they close down." Shuizhendi nodded. "You're right. Now inform the whole Shui's jewelry to sell all goods at a 20% discount. I don't believe that we can't compete with Lin's jewelry in the price war." At Lin's jewelry, after the selected auspicious time, firecrackers were set off, gongs and drums were heard, and they officially opened for business. After a brief speech, Qin Haodong and Lin Momo led many congratulatory guests into the sales hall. These people became the first wave of guests of Lin's jewelry. As the host, Qin Haodong had prepared many small gifts in advance. All the guests who came to congratulate were given an emerald pendant. This pendant itself was not worth much money. The market price was about 100,000 yuan. However, Qin Haodong added the incantation of peace to it, so it became completely different. Its value immediately increased by dozens, or even hundreds of times. Lin's jewelry was divided into 5 floors. Each floor was filled with all kinds of jewelry and jades, which were dazzling. These jades were not only exquisitely made, but also made of real materials from Myanmar, which made people unable to put them down. These guests were all experienced experts. They immediately saw that these jades were extraordinary. While appreciating them, they bought a few from time to time. Qin Haodong came to Kim Ji-hyun and said, "Thank you for coming to support me." It had to be said that this little girl had been very enthusiastic in the past 2 days. At yesterday's reception, she stood on Qin Haodong's side without hesitation. Today, at the opening ceremony, she gave him a big red envelope. Kim Ji-hyun said bluntly, "You don't have to thank me. You are the person I respect most. If possible, I hope you can accept me as an apprentice." "It's impossible for me to accept you as an apprentice." Qin Haodong refused Kim Ji-hyun without hesitation. But then he took out a small jade bottle from his pocket and said, "This is for you. It will help you improve your cultivation." Kim Ji-hyun took the small jade bottle. After opening the lid, she saw a crystal clear pill inside. The refreshing fragrance made people feel very comfortable. At first glance, she knew it was not an ordinary pill. She asked, "What is this?" "This is the spirit culturing pill I refined. It can help you improve your cultivation." "Thank you." Kim Ji-hyun had no doubt about Qin Haodong's words. She put away the small jade bottle very carefully. Qin Haodong took out another jade pendant and said, "This is for you too." "Thank you." Kim Ji-hyun took the jade pendant and looked at it. She saw a turtle-like monster carved on it. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "This jade pendant is so strange. Why is there a turtle on it?" Qin Haodong said, "In Huaxia, this is not a turtle. It is our divine beast, Black Tortoise. Among the 4 divine beasts, it has the strongest defensive ability. I added some spells to this jade pendant. You can wear it with you. As long as you are not a supreme power master, no one can hurt you." Yesterday, he saw a flash of blood on Kim Ji-hyun's forehead. He calculated with his fingers and knew that this little girl would face a bloody disaster soon. So he specially made this jade pendant as a gift. It could defend against the attacks of masters below the supreme power level. Kim Ji-hyun was also a warrior, so she knew the value of this jade pendant very well. She quickly said, "It's too precious." Qin Haodong said, "It's fate that we met. Nothing else matters. Take it." Although this little girl was from Koryo, she was a good person, so he helped her. "Thank you, Mr. Qin." Kim Ji-hyun carefully tied the jade pendant to her waist. After giving the gift to Kim Ji-hyun, Qin Haodong walked to Maldini Jr. He took a brocade box and opened it. There was an emerald jade carving inside. Maldini Jr. believed in Western God, and this jade carving was a statue of God, which was specially prepared for him. Qin Haodong also put a protective charm and a lucky charm on it. As for the wealth charm, he didn't care. The Maldini family was too rich. If they gathered more money, others would have no way to survive. Maldini Jr. said excitedly, "Dear Qin, thank you very much. I like this gift very much." Qin Haodong took out a small jade bottle with 3 physique-improving pills in it. "This is for Mr. Maldini Sr. I hope he will be healthy." Thank you so much." Compared with the jade statue, Maldini Jr. cared more about Qin Haodong's pills. He put them away as if they were treasures. Although he had given a red envelope of hundreds of millions of yuan today, he still felt that he had made a profit with this bottle of pills. Just as he was about to walk to Yi Qing, Lin Momo hurried over. "What's wrong, Momo? What's the matter?" Qin Haodong asked. Lin Momo said, "The Shue's jewelry across the street is selling all their goods at a 20% discount. Obviously, they are targeting us." Qin Haodong's face darkened and he said coldly, "It doesn't matter. Since they want to play, let's play with them." With his experience, how could he not know that the 2 groups of people just now were hired by the Shue's jewelry? However, he was here, so they didn't cause any trouble. Since the other side had made moves one after another, they couldn't blame him for being ruthless. Just then, the cell phone in his pocket rang. He looked at the caller ID and found that it was Lu Hongquan, the leader of the Jade Gang in Myanmar. He pressed the answer button, and Lu Hongquan's excited voice came over the phone. Mr. Qin, the first batch of raw stones from our jade mine has been shipped out. The quality is very good, no worse than the old ones. Qin Haodong said happily. Yes, I just opened a jewelry store in Shanghai, and I need raw stones. Lu Hongquan said, no problem. I'll send this batch of raw stones to you right away. You'll definitely be satisfied. Qin Haodong said, did the Shuez jewelry in Shanghai also take raw stones from you? Of course, as long as the raw stones are from Myanmar. As long as they go out of Myanmar, they must pass through our Jade Gang. Lu Hongquan suddenly realized something and said, Mr. Qin, did the blind Shuez jewelry offend you? Do you want me to stop their raw stone suppliers? As long as you say the word, I promise that the Shuez jewelry will not get a single piece of raw jade stone in the future. Then stop it. It was impolite not to reciprocate. Qin Haodong was not a kind man. Since Shuez jewelry kept playing dirty tricks, he couldn't blame him for taking drastic measures. After hanging up the phone, he told Lin Momo that the raw stone mine had begun to produce, and then said, now we have sufficient raw stone supplies, and it's all free. The Shuez jewelry gives a 20% discount, and we give a 50% discount. Let's see who will have the last laugh in this price war. In fact, the Shuez jewelry had already lost before the business war started. Qin Haodong had such a huge jade mine as his backing. No matter how much he sold, he would make a profit. The Shuez jewelry could not compete with him at all. Lin Momo left with a smile. At this time Yi Qing, who was wearing a long dress, came over slowly. She said with a smile, little brother, everyone has a gift. Where's your sister? Qin Haodong took out a small jade bottle and gave it to her. He said, of course I won't forget my sister. This is the energy gathering pill I refined. It can help you break through your current bottleneck. Yi Qing asked in surprise, do you know what my cultivation is now? Chapter 557. Qin Haodong smiled and said, I've practiced a special method that allows me to see other people's cultivation. If I'm not mistaken, you should have been in the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm for a long time. Little brother, you're really amazing. It's the first time I've seen someone who can see through other people's cultivation after so many years. Yi Qing charmingly glanced at him, then casually opened the jade bottle in her hand, only to see 3 small crystal clear black pills inside. I've been trapped here for a long time. Do these 3 pills really work? Qin Haodong said, it's absolutely no problem. A normal energy gathering pill can help you break through. To be on the safe side, I gave you 3 pills. I forgot that you're the medical sage. Thank you. Yi Qing happily put the small jade bottle into her bag. She had been stuck in this realm for a long time. Now that she finally had the hope of breaking through, how could she not be happy? After putting away the energy gathering pills, she said, Medical sage, I have one more thing to ask of you. Qin Haodong said, go ahead. Since you've taken care of me so much, I'll do my best to help you. Yi Qing said, here's the thing. My sister, the head of the Haodong group, Chu Xianyue, is sick. Many doctors in the capital couldn't cure her. Your medical skills are so good. I want to invite you to take a look at her. Oh, I see. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, there's no problem with seeing her, but it's a little troublesome to go to the capital. Can you ask her to come to Shanghai? Yi Qing said, my sister is very sick, and it's not convenient for her to move. Moreover, the Haodong group needs someone to control it. I'm here now and it's not convenient for her to leave, so I want you to go to the capital with me. In fact, the capital is not too far away from Shanghai. It'll only take half a day by car. It won't take too much of your time. Qin Haodong hesitated for a moment. Yi Qing had been helping him since they met. Now that she was asking him for help, he couldn't refuse. Moreover, a good relationship with the Haodong group would be very helpful for the development of the Lin group. Thinking of this, he said, Then I'll go with you. But I can't stay in the capital for too long. I have to come back immediately after seeing her. Yi Qing smiled in her heart. When you meet your mother, I'm afraid you won't leave. No problem. As long as you treat my sister, you can leave at any time. After their discussion, Qin Haodong handed over all the affairs of Lin's jewelry to Lin Momo. He also said hello to Li Meiyu. Then, he got in the car with Yi Qing and drove to the capital. The car was Yi Qing's. It was an off-road vehicle with excellent performance. She sat in the passenger seat while Qin Haodong drove. In Beijing, Han Zixing put his hands behind his back and said to the butler in front of him, "How's the situation in Shanghai?" The butler said, "The situation is very bad. Since those two people fell into the hands of the little witch, almost all our men in Shanghai have been killed. Yi Qing, I will kill her sooner or later." A ferocious look flashed across Han Zixing's face. Then he asked, "Did you find out? Is Chu Xianyue really ill?" The housekeeper said, "We don't know the details, but she did see a lot of doctors. They said that she was very dizzy and couldn't sleep for 2 days. Now her condition is getting worse, and she is bedridden." I asked the neurologist who had seen her. He said that Chu Xuanyue's brain nerves are abnormally excited, and she has been in an abnormal state for a long time. Then she is really ill. A flash of joy flashed across Han Zixing's face. "It's a good opportunity for us." The butler was his confidant. He couldn't help but ask, "Boss, what are you going to do?" Han Zixing said, "Yi Qing is our stumbling block. If it weren't for her, I would have gotten Chu Xianyue into bed long ago. This time, she will definitely come back from Shanghai to visit Chu Xianyue. We will arrange for people to kill her on the way. Without Yi Qing, Chu Xianyue is the meat on my chopping board. I can do whatever I want to her, and play with her however I want." The butler said, "Boss, it's easy to kill Yi Qing. But no matter what, Chu Xianyue is also a member of the Chu family. Will we cause the Chu family to fight back if we do this?" Han Zixing said, "You don't have to worry about that. Over the years, Chu Xianyue has been in a bad relationship with the Chu family because of her child. They don't have much contact with each other. As long as I don't kill Chu Xianyue, the Chu family won't do anything." "Got it, boss. I'll do it now." After that, he turned around and left the room. Qin Haodong drove the car, and the two of them chatted as they walked. Soon they were out of the city. He said, "Sister, you are really a martial arts genius. You reached the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm so quickly." Yi Qing said, "I'm not a genius. To be honest, I didn't get my cultivation by cultivation." Qin Haodong thought she was joking. He said with a smile, "If you didn't get it by cultivation, did you pick it up?" Yi Qing's expression changed. She sighed and said, "It's a long story. In fact, my life is very hard. My parents died when I was young. I became an orphan at the age of 8 and lived on the streets. Later it was my sister, Chu Xianyue, who adopted me." Qin Haodong said, "Since it was President Chu who adopted your sister, you should call her mother. Why did you call her sister?" Yi Qing said, "At first, my sister said that she was afraid that I would sound too old if I called her mother. So she asked me to call her sister. Later, I found out that she had a son, but he was lost soon after he was born. She was afraid that I would call her mother, so she asked me to call her sister." "Oh." Qin Haodong said, "There are too many unpleasant things in the world. I'm also an orphan. I still don't know who my parents are. My sister is my second parent. If she hadn't adopted me, I would still be wandering on the streets, or would have died in a foreign land." Yi Qing sighed again and said, "I've met 2 benefactors in my life. One is my sister, and the other is my master. Not long after I was adopted by my sister, I met my master. My master is an unworldly master. Her Buddhist name is Huaining Nun. She said that I was destined to be her disciple. So she took me in and lived with me in the capital for 10 years. During these 10 years, my master taught me all she had learned in her life. Although my aptitude was not bad, I barely reached the half-step Supreme Power Realm when I was 18 years old. At that time, my master calculated that her life was over. Before she passed away, she used the secret method of her sect to give me all her cultivation. That was why I reached the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Qin Haodong finally understood why Yi Qing had reached such a high level of cultivation at such a young age. It turned out that she had relied on the power of her master. Yi Qing continued, "It's been 10 years since master passed away. But because my cultivation base was not obtained through hard work, and my foundation is weak, I haven't been able to make any progress in the past 10 years, and have always maintained my current realm." Qin Haodong said, "Sister, don't worry. In the past 10 years, you have completely consolidated your cultivation, and are only one step away from breaking through. As long as you take the energy-gathering pill I gave you, you will be able to take another step forward." Yi Qing took out a small jade bottle, and took out a pill. She said eagerly, "Can I try it now?" She had been stagnant for 10 years, and her desire for a breakthrough was extremely strong. Qin Haodong thought for a moment. With him by her side to protect her, there should be no problem. He said, "Yes, sister, don't worry about breaking through. Leave the rest to me." After listening to him, Yi Qing put the seat flat, and then sat down cross-legged. After taking a deep breath, she swallowed the energy-gathering pill, and began to break through wholeheartedly. Qin Haodong slowed down the car, and drove as steadily as possible. In this way, one of them broke through, and the other drove. They slowly moved forward. At this time, they were far away from the city, and it was late. There were not many cars on the road, so no one came to disturb them. An hour later, Yi Qing's momentum became stronger and stronger. The surrounding spiritual qi of heaven and earth swept toward her like a whirlpool. Qin Haodong knew that she was about to break through, so he chose a flat place on the side of the road to stop the car, and let Yi Qing break through with all her strength. About 10 minutes later, Yi Qing felt a loud bang in her mind. Then the genuine qi in her body suddenly soared, like a big river running in her body. She had finally broken through to the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. After 10 years of silence, she had finally crossed this threshold, which made her ecstatic. The 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm had a completely different meaning from other realms. Crossing this threshold was equivalent to reaching the late stage of the Gold Core Realm, which was much more powerful than the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. After stabilizing her cultivation, she slowly opened her eyes. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Sister, congratulations. You've finally broken through. Little brother, I really want to thank you. Without your pill, I don't know when I would have broken through. Come on, let me kiss you to express my gratitude." She was in a good mood after the breakthrough. She wanted to make a joke with Qin Haodong and tease her younger brother, so she pretended to kiss him. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong didn't avoid her at all, and held her in his arms. Before she could react, Qin Haodong's hand flashed with a golden light, and directly cut the door of the off-road car in half. Then he rushed out like a cannonball with her in his arms. At the moment they rushed out, there was a loud bang in their ears. A cold light struck the off-road car like lightning. The solid off-road car was cut in half like tofu. Yi Qing was shocked at first, and then she flew into a rage. She didn't expect that someone would attack her at this time. Fortunately, she had completed the breakthrough. Otherwise, even if she was not cut in half, she would have exploded and died. She stood up from Qin Haodong's arms, and looked back angrily. She saw 2 black shadows standing in the night. One of them was tall, and the other was thin. Each of them was holding a long silver sword in their hands. "The 2 swords of Laozhan, it's you?" The 2 swords of Laozhan were well-known supreme power masters in the martial arts world. They were a couple of cultivators. The man was called Gu Yuqing, and the woman was called Ling Cuizue. Like Yi Qing, they had reached the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Gu Yuqing chuckled and said, "Little witch, I didn't expect that you could come out alive from my sword. You do have some skills." Ling Cuizue said, "But what's the use of that? If we work together, you will be killed by our swords sooner or later. It's better to kneel down and accept your death obediently. It will save us a lot of trouble." Both of them were veteran supreme power masters, at the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. They had a set of joint sword attacks, and had cooperated well for many years, so they didn't take Yi Qing seriously at all. They never dreamed that Yi Qing had successfully broken through to the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm at that moment. Yi Qing was not a reckless person. She suppressed the anger in her heart and asked coldly, "Who asked you to come? Is it the Han family? Or Han Zixing himself?" The two swords of Laoshan had become the elders of the Han family in the capital many years ago. It was definitely not a coincidence that they worked together now. Chapter 558. Gu Yuqing smiled and said, "You're about to die. Why are you still asking so many questions? Whether it's the Han family's or young master's will, you will definitely die today." Ling Tsuetsue said, "If you really want to ask, go to hell and ask the king of hell." After that, the two of them jumped into the air with great tacit understanding. The long swords in their hands turned into two rays of silver light and slashed at Yi Qing. "You're courting death." Yi Qing turned her wrist and pulled out a soft sword from her waist. It turned into a sharp sword light and went up to meet them. Ding, 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 ding. Her soft sword collided with the long swords of the Laoshan Mountain double swords, making a crisp sound of metal colliding. Then the Laoshan Mountain double swords were shaken and flew backward. Although Yi Qing had just broken through to the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm, she was still much stronger than a 6th level master. If it weren't for the fact that the Laoshan Mountain double swords were good at joint attacks, there would have been casualties under this sword. Gu Yuqing and Ling Tsuetsue took a few steps back in succession, their faces full of horror. They originally thought that they would definitely kill Yi Qing if they worked together to kill her. They didn't expect such a situation to happen. Gu Yuqing cried in horror. 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. When did you break through? It should be known that there was a very high threshold between the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm, and some people couldn't break through it in their lifetime. The couple had been stuck here for 7 or 8 years. They didn't expect Yi Qing to be so talented that she had broken through this threshold at the age of less than 30. Do you want to know? Why don't you ask the king of hell? Yi Qing's character was that she would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If someone punched her, she would cut them with a knife. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been called a witch in the capital. Since the Laoshan Mountain double swords were here to kill her, she would not hesitate to fight back. The soft sword in her hand turned into a sword light that covered the sky and enveloped the couple. Although it was 1 against 2, she still had the upper hand. As her cultivation stabilized, her advantage became greater and greater. This was the strength of a 7th level Supreme Power Realm. The Laoshan dual sword couple complained incessantly. They relied on their joint attack technique to persevere bitterly. Although they could still persevere for a while, they no longer had any hope of victory. They didn't even have the chance to escape. The three of them were fighting so fiercely that they had forgotten Qin Haodong. Although Yi Qing knew that Qin Haodong had a certain level of cultivation, she never thought that Qin Haodong could be stronger than her. She never even thought that Qin Haodong would help her. When the Laoshan Swords couple saw Qin Haodong for the first time, they didn't feel any warrior's aura from him. They thought he was just an ordinary driver, and didn't take him seriously. Qin Haodong acted like an ordinary person. He restrained all the genuine qi in his body, and hid behind a stone. His face was full of fear, and his body was even trembling. In any case, when he rushed out of the car with Yi Qing in his arms, he thought it was Yi Qing who carried him. He didn't step forward to help Yi Qing, because his powerful primordial spirit sensed that there was an extremely powerful force spying on him. Since the other party wanted to kill Yi Qing, they wouldn't just send 2 level 6 Supreme Power Masters. In that case, even if Yi Qing didn't break through to the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm, it would be easy for the Laoshan dual sword couple to hurt her, but it would be difficult for them to kill her. It was even impossible. Therefore, he guessed that the other party must have some tricks up their sleeves, and this strong sense of spying confirmed his guess. Everything in front of him was a killing trap carefully set up by the other party. First, they used the Laoshan dual sword couple to trap Yi Qing. And then that person gave a fatal blow. Although Yi Qing had unexpectedly reached the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm, it didn't affect the assassination plan. He restrained his cultivation and pretended to be an ordinary person in order to deceive the person hiding in the dark. According to his intuition, this person's cultivation was at least above the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. If they fought directly, he was still no match for him. It turned out that this strategy was very effective. The master hiding in the dark just glanced at him and turned all his attention to Yi Qing and the other two. Yi Qing didn't have Qin Haodong's spirit, so she didn't notice that there was an enemy hiding next to her. She used all her strength to use the soft sword in her hand and beat the Laozhan dual sword couple to a sorry state. There were already a lot of bloodstains on their bodies. After fighting for a few more minutes, Yi Qing sent Gu Yuqing flying with a palm and fought back with Ling Xuezue's long sword. Ling Xuezue's cultivation was originally not as good as hers. Under the head-on collision, the long sword was swung high and the middle was opened. The soft sword in Yi Qing's hand turned into a graceful light and went straight to her throat. Gu Yuqing, who was in the distance, let out a roar, but it was too late to save her. He saw Yi Qing's soft sword piercing Ling Xuezue's neck. Anyone who was pierced through the throat would die without a doubt. Yi Qing had no doubt that her sword could take Ling Xuezue's life. So at this moment, she relaxed a little. The person hiding in the dark was waiting for this moment. He didn't rescue Ling Xuezue at the critical moment because he wanted to use Ling Xuezue's death to exchange for an excellent opportunity to kill Yi Qing in one fell swoop. At the moment when Ling Xuezue fell, a black shadow suddenly appeared behind Yi Qing. The long sword in his hand was like a poisonous snake, stabbing fiercely at her back. Shadow assassin Su Qingji. When Yi Qing sensed the danger, she immediately guessed who the person was. It was Su Qingji, the shadow assassin of the Han family in the capital. His cultivation had reached the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. He was even more ruthless, which made people's faces change when they talked about him. She didn't expect that Han Zixing would even send him to kill her. Although she understood everything, it was too late. Su Qingji's sword came too fast and silent. In the blink of an eye, it had already reached her back. She could only desperately twist her body, trying to avoid the vital parts of her body. Seeing that he was about to succeed, Su Qingji's mouth showed a touch of contempt. He had been spying in the dark for a long time, using the death of his companion in exchange for an opportunity to kill her. It seemed that everything was within his calculations. In the past, he had relied on this kind of meticulous thinking to succeed in assassinations. Even many strong people with higher cultivation than him had died under his sword. It was a pity that he had missed one person today. It was Qin Haodong, who was shivering behind a stone. He thought he was a mantis preying on a cicada, but he never dreamed that there was an oriole waiting to prey next to him. Qin Haodong had been pretending for a long time, waiting for this opportunity. In terms of assassination ability, nothing was better than a flying sword. At this time, the Xianyuan sword had quietly floated behind Su Qingji's head. When the sword in Su Qingji's hand pierced Yi Qing's skin, the Xianyuan sword ran through the back of his head. Yi Qing felt the stinging pain coming from her back. She thought that she would die today, but when she closed her eyes she heard a clang. Su Qingji's long sword fell to the ground, and then he fell to the ground with a thud. She looked back at Su Qingji and saw a big hole in the back of his head. Red and white blood flowed all over the ground. He was dead. Qin Haodong was standing next to him with a golden long sword in his hand. Gu Yuqing was about to rush over with a long sword in his hand, but when he saw that Su Qingji and Ling Xuezue had died, he was scared out of his wits and turned to run. Yi Qing had just been through the gates of hell. At this time, she was full of killing intent. How could she let him escape? The soft sword in her hand turned into a silver light and shot out, piercing Gu Yuqing's chest in an instant. She went over to pull back the soft sword and kicked Gu Yuqing's body away. She looked back at Qin Haodong and said, "Little brother, I still underestimated you. I didn't expect you to save me twice so quickly." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's all a trick. Yi Qing kicked over Su Qingji's body. After confirming his identity, she said, "Do you know who he is? He's the famous shadow assassin Su Qingji in the capital. He has killed countless people in his life. Many famous masters have died under his assassination. His cultivation has reached the 7th level of the supreme power realm. Such a ruthless man died under your sword today. How did you do it?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course it was a sneak attack. If I fought with such a master head-on, I would have died. When he attacked you, I attacked him. Fortunately, I was a little faster than him. Otherwise, you would have been hurt." Yi Qing glanced at Qin Haodong and felt that this young man was more and more mysterious. If Su Qingji could be attacked by others at will, he would have died 10,000 times. However, everyone had their own secrets. She didn't want to ask too much, so she said, "Who said I wasn't hurt? My back has been stabbed. Hurry up and help me deal with it. Don't leave a scar." Then she turned around. Qin Haodong's eyesight was very good. With the moonlight in the sky, he could see the scene in front of him clearly. Just now, Su Qingji's long sword had pierced Yi Qing's skin, and when it fell, it made another cut. Fortunately, the wound was not deep and was easy to deal with. He took out the golden sore medicine and applied it to Yi Qing's wound. It soon stopped the bleeding and began to scab. Yi Qing felt a coolness on her back, and then the pain disappeared. She couldn't help but say, "Your medical skills are really good. You deserve to be called the medical sage." Of course, when it comes to medical skills, I'm the second in the world. No one dares to be the first. Qin Haodong had absolute confidence in his medical skills. In terms of martial arts cultivation, he still didn't dare to dominate the world, but his medical skills were absolutely unparalleled. Yi Qing moved a little, and there was no pain on her back. She said, "Will there be a scar? If there is a scar, it will be ugly. I can't wear a suspender skirt in the future." Qin Haodong shook his head. Women were really strange creatures. They could never forget beauty. "Don't worry. If such a small injury leaves a scar, then my reputation as the medical sage will be ruined." Yi Qing turned around and said with a smile, "If there is a scar, my sister can't get married. Then you will be responsible." Qin Haodong was speechless. If that was the case, the responsibility of being a doctor would be too great. Yi Qing took his arm and came to the front of the off-road vehicle that had been cut in half. She sighed and said, "These bastards destroyed our car. How can we go back?" Qin Haodong said, "We can only find another car." This place was hundreds of kilometers away from Shanghai. If they asked their family to send a car here, it would be too much of a waste of time. Yi Qing said, "But it's in the wilderness. Where can we find a car?" "Leave it to me. I have a way." Qin Haodong came to the side of the road. Although there were often cars passing by, it was too desolate here. No one stopped at all. He took out a stack of banknotes from his pocket, raised his hand, and sprinkled them on the road. He let the banknotes cover the road, and then took Yi Qing to hide behind a tree. At this time a Passat drove over. When it saw the banknotes on the road, it immediately braked and stopped on the side of the road. A middle-aged driver jumped out of the car and picked up a few banknotes. After confirming that they were real banknotes, he immediately picked them up with a smile. He was happily picking them up. Suddenly, there was a roar of a motor behind him. Qin Haodong and Yi Qing had already gotten into his Passat. The middle-aged driver suddenly panicked. He hurriedly chased after the car and shouted, "My car, give it back to me. I'll buy your car." The window opened and 2 thick bundles of Huaxia currency were thrown over. He picked them up and saw that they were real Huaxia currency, 200,000 yuan. Chapter 559. The middle-aged driver stopped in his tracks and chuckled with the 2 currencies in his hands. He had been driving this car for several years. If he took it to the second-hand car market, it could be sold for 100,000 yuan at most. Now that someone offered him 200,000 yuan, he got a big bargain. How could he not be happy? Qin Haodong maximized the speed of the Passat, which was no less than the off-road vehicle just now. This car is really too lousy. Yi Qing sat in the passenger seat and patted the simple interior of the Passat. She was quite dissatisfied. Qin Haodong didn't care and said, "That's enough, sister. It's good to have a car. It's better than running back to the capital." "You're right," Yi Qing said. "Little brother, you helped me improve my cultivation this time and saved me twice. How do you think I should repay you? Why don't you devote yourself to me?" She's offering herself to me again. Qin Haodong was speechless. Why did women always like to do this? He once saw a joke that a beautiful woman was saved by a man. If she liked the man, she would marry him. If she didn't like him, she would be an ox or a horse in the next life to repay him for saving her life. From this point of view, it was his fault that he was too handsome. However, he had enough girlfriends now, so he didn't dare to provoke others casually. He quickly said, "Sister, forget it." Yi Qing was suddenly unhappy when he was halfway through his words. She said discontentedly, "What? Do you think I'm old and not pretty?" "No, absolutely not." Qin Haodong didn't dare to provoke Yi Qing. He quickly explained, "Whoever says that I'm old and not pretty is blind. You're in your prime. You're a blooming flower. You're as beautiful as you can be." After a series of compliments, Yi Qing's face finally eased a lot. "Is what you said true?" "Of course it's true. It's truer than real money," Yi Qing said. "Then why don't you like me?" Qin Haodong said with a bitter face. "How dare I not like you? It's just that I have too many girlfriends now. You saw it for yourself that day. There are already so many of them, and some of them are not in my house. I'm in a terrible situation now. It's not that I don't like you. It's that I don't dare to wrong you." Speaking up to here, Yi Qing's interest was immediately piqued. The fire of gossip in her eyes burned brightly. "Little brother, then tell me, just how many girlfriends do you have?" "I can't say for sure. I'm not sure yet." Qin Haodong didn't want to be questioned by her, so he changed the topic and said, "Sister, who were those 3 people just now? Why did they want to kill you?" Speaking of the killer he had just encountered, Yi Qing immediately became cold and said, "It's that bastard Han Zixing. He must be behind this." Seeing that he had successfully changed the topic, Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Who is Han Zixing? Does he have a grudge against you?" Yi Qing said, "Han Zixing is a member of the Han family in the capital. He is the youngest son of Old Master Han, and the most cunning of the second generation of the Han family. The 2 people you caught following you a few days ago were sent by him. This guy has always been unkind to my sister, and has always wanted to take over the Haodong group. I have always hated this person, and he also regards me as a thorn in his side. After catching the 2 people following me, I wiped out all of his informants in Shanghai. This guy was so angry that he wanted to kill me. However, it can also be seen that he is definitely going to take action against the Haodong group. We have to hurry back." Qin Haodong had long heard of the 7 great families in the capital, but he didn't know much about them. Now that he had finally met someone who was familiar with the situation, it was just the right time to get more information. He said, "Sister, are those 3 people considered masters in the Han family? How many masters like them are there in the entire capital?" This was what he was most concerned about. If it was just the Laoshan Mountain double swords, he could rely on the Xianyuan divine sword to kill the 3 killers. However, he couldn't face shadow killer Su Qingji, who was at the 7th level of the supreme power realm. After all, the difference in their levels was too big, and he couldn't fight head-on at all. It seemed that the capital was the capital after all. It was much higher than the martial arts world in Shanghai. The Sun family was also the biggest family in Shanghai, but the highest one was only at the 2nd level of the supreme power realm. Any one of the Laoshan Mountain double swords could sweep Shanghai. Yi Qing said, "Among the 7 great families in the capital, the elders are generally divided into 3 levels. The masters from the 1st level to the 3rd level of the supreme power realm are divided into the 3rd level, which is the lowest level among the elders. The 3rd level of the supreme power realm is low, so there are naturally more of them. There are almost dozens of them in each family. The 4th level to the 6th level of the supreme power realm are the 2nd-class elders, which are much fewer in number. The Laoshan Mountain double swords belong to the Han family's 2nd-class elders. Their status is higher than the 3rd-class elders, but they are only at the middle level. In this way, the 7th level to the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm are the first-class elders, who enjoy a high status in each big family, especially the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Their status is not much lower than that of the family master. The shadow assassin Su Qingji is the first-class elder of the Han family, but his ranking is low. However, he has a unique skill in assassination, so he can barely reach the middle level of the first-class elders. Hearing this, Qin Haodong couldn't help but take a deep breath. He originally thought that since he had formed the gold core, he should be regarded as a master on Earth. He didn't expect that there were so many supreme power masters in the capital. It seemed that he had to hurry to improve his cultivation. Otherwise, once he met the first-class elders of the big families, he would only be killed in seconds. As long as he went one step further, he could reach the middle level of the gold core stage. He didn't dare to say that he could kill the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, but at least it would not be a problem for him to fight against the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. In order to get as much information as possible, he asked again, "Among the 7 great families in the capital, who is stronger?" Yi Qing said, "The 7 great families are about the same. There is not much difference in terms of force, at least on the surface. At the level of the big families, in fact, the final competition is force. Whoever has more strong people will have the right to speak, and economic strength is secondary. Think about it. No matter how much money you have, if you don't have strong force as a guarantee, it will eventually belong to others. Among the strong, the most important thing is the number of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. A 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm is more important than 10th level of the Supreme Power Realm. The 7 great families in the capital have been in a state of balance for many years. Almost all of them have 2 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. As for whether there is any hidden power, I don't know." Qin Haodong asked, "Is there no one who is stronger?" "Not yet," Yi Qing said. 20 years ago, there was a rare genius in the Qin family, Qin Zongheng. He showed amazing talent in martial arts, and was known as the strongest person, who was most likely to break through the bottleneck of the Supreme Power Realm and reach the Saint Realm. It's a pity that the Qin family was too eager for quick success. They had to control Qin Zongheng's marriage, and formed an alliance with the Yin family. In the end, Qin Zongheng ran away from home in a rage, and there is no news of him until now. Qin Haodong, he suddenly thought of a question and asked, "How is the Haodong group compared to the Han family?" "There's no comparison." Yi Qing shook his head and said, "Although the Haodong group is financially powerful, it can only be called a group in the end. It can't be called an aristocratic family, because it doesn't have a matching force to protect it. In the entire Haodong group, only I have reached the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm, and Sister Xianyue is a 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. How could such strength compare with the other aristocratic families? If Sister Xianyue wasn't from the Chu family, she would have been devoured by the other aristocratic families." Qin Haodong said, "Now that my sister has killed 3 elders of the Han family, will it cause trouble for the Haodong group?" "Probably not," Yi Qing said. "I guess it wasn't the Han family's master's idea this time. It was Han Zixing who mobilized the family's power. Although 3 people died, it didn't affect the Han family's strength much. If the Han family made trouble for the Haodong group publicly, it would be equivalent to slapping the Chu family in the face. After all, Sister Xianyue is the most beloved daughter of the Chu family's master. It might cause a full-scale war between the 2 families. Now the 7 great families in the capital are in a delicate state of balance. Once one of the 2 big families starts a war, no matter whether they win or lose, their strength will be damaged and they will be devoured by the other 5 families. Therefore, no family will be stupid enough to start a dispute unless it's a last resort. After all, the masters of the big families are old foxes who have been fighting for a long time. No one is easy to deal with." Qin Haodong nodded. After that, the 2 of them talked about some other topics. Before they knew it, they had arrived at the capital. In the Haodong group, Chu Xianyue received a message from Yi Qing, saying that Qin Haodong and Yi Qing were on their way back to the capital. Thinking that she was about to meet her son, who had been lost for 20 years, she was extremely excited. She tossed and turned in the room, and looked at the clock on the wall every few minutes, hoping that Qin Haodong would arrive earlier. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. She quickly jumped onto the bed, pretended to be weak and said, "Who is it? Come in." As soon as the door opened, the female assistant came in from outside and said, "President Chu, Mr. Han is here. He said he wanted to see you." Chu Xianyue waved her hand and said, "No. Tell him that I'm sick now and I won't see anyone." "Okay, I'll tell him now." The female assistant agreed. But before she left the room, Han Zixing had already walked in, followed by an old man in a long robe. He said happily, "Xiao Yu, why don't you see me? Are you still angry with me?" Chu Xianyue did not expect him to break in. She frowned and said, "What are you doing here? I'm sick now and I don't want to see outsiders." "Xiao Yu, listen to what you're saying. We grew up together, and can be said to be childhood sweethearts. How can you say that I'm an outsider?" He pointed to the old man behind him and said, "I know you're sick, so I specially invited Mr. Zhang Jingsheng from Sai Huadawa to see you." Chu Xianyue said, "I'll find a doctor if I'm sick. It's none of your business." Han Zixing said, "Xiao Yu, your health is the most important thing. Don't throw a tantrum like a child. Hurry up and let Mr. Zhang take a look at you." Chu Xianyue said, "I don't need it. Hurry up and leave." "How can you not need it? Are you not sick?" After Han Zixing said that, he looked at Chu Xianyue meaningfully, thinking that she had pretended to be sick in order to meet her son. Chu Xianyue was afraid of exposing herself. She could only be patient and said, "I'm sick. Is it necessary for me to pretend to be sick? Since you've brought a doctor here, let him take a look." As she said that, she stretched out her wrist. Zhang Jingsheng came to the head of the bed and reached out to feel Chu Xianyue's pulse. But at this moment, Chu Xianyue felt her wrist go numb, and then her whole body lost strength. She cried in her heart, "Oh no!" Zhang Jingsheng was not a doctor at all, but a supreme power realm expert. He had taken advantage of the opportunity of feeling her pulse to control her. This was all Han Zixing's trap. "You actually sent people to assassinate little Qing? Stop it right now and call him back. Otherwise, I won't let you off." Knowing that Xiao Qing was going to be assassinated and that Qin Haodong, who was with her, might also be in danger, Chu Xianyue was going crazy. One of them was her adopted daughter, and the other was her own son. They were the most important people in her life. She couldn't let any of them get hurt. She struggled desperately, but unfortunately, Zhang Jingsheng's cultivation was above hers. Her acupoints were tightly sealed. No matter how many times she struggled, she couldn't break through the sealed acupoints. "Xiaoya, I really don't know how you maintain your looks. There are no wrinkles on your face, and your figure is so good. No one would believe that you're in your 40s. Han Zixing's greedy eyes swept over Chu Xianyue again. He said with a lewd smile, "Do you want me to let that girl go? That's fine. As long as you serve me well, I might let her go if I'm happy." "Bah! In your dreams." Chu Xianyue was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. "Bitch! You're a bitch who doesn't know what's good for her." Han Zixing shouted proudly. "No matter what, you're meat on my chopping board today. Since you don't want to cooperate, I'll do it myself." After saying that, he stretched out his hairy big hand and grabbed Chu Xuanyue's chest. Yi Qing and Qin Haodong returned to the Haodong group. After parking the car, they rushed to Chu Xuanyue's room excitedly. She believed that she would be very happy to find her sister's son, who had been missing for more than 20 years. But when she arrived at Chu Xuanyue's door, she found Han Zixing's 2 bodyguards standing in front of the door. She immediately had a bad feeling and said in a cold voice, "What are you doing here?" The leading bodyguard said, "The boss brought a doctor to treat President Chu. No one is allowed to enter." Bullsh *T. This is the Haodong group. When did he have the right to give orders? Get out of here. Yi Qing said as she rushed into the room. The two bodyguards were about to stop her when she slapped them to the ground. As soon as she rushed into the room, a sharp wind came from behind her. It was Zhang Jingsheng, who was guarding the room. He took advantage of Yi Qing's distraction to sneak attack from behind. Yi Qing came back to her senses and suddenly hit Zhang Jingsheng with her palm. Zhang Jingsheng was a level 6 Supreme Power Master, and Yi Qing's cultivation was one level higher than his. However, she was unable to use her full strength in a hurry. The two of them fought to a draw. Seeing that Han Zixing had arranged such a master here, Yi Qing realized that things were not good. She shouted to Qin Haodong, "I'll deal with this old thing. You go and save my sister." Even if she didn't shout, Qin Haodong would still move. He slammed open the bedroom door. Han Zixing's outstretched right hand hung in the air. Seeing someone break in, he was shocked at first and then said angrily, "Who are you? Who let you in?" Seeing the situation in front of him, Qin Haodong had already guessed what was going on. He said coldly, "It doesn't matter who I am. The key is to teach you a lesson, you beast. You're courting death." Han Zixing was also at the second level of the Supreme Power Realm. He did not feel any aura of a warrior from Qin Haodong. He unscrupulously grabbed Qin Haodong's neck. However, just as his hand stretched out halfway, he felt a strong force hit his chest. His body flew out as if he had been hit by a cannonball and hit the wall of the bedroom with a bang. "Oh no, this kid is a master." Han Zixing was beaten to the point that he almost vomited blood. He never dreamed that this young man's cultivation would be above his. He got up from the ground and shouted fiercely, "Kid, do you know who I am? How dare you hit me? I'm Han Zixing of the Han family. If you hurt me, you won't have a foothold in Huaxia in the future." Since he couldn't beat him, he could only use the name of the Han family, hoping to scare the other party. However, he was disappointed. Before he could finish shouting, he had already been slapped in the face. Qin Haodong naturally wouldn't show any mercy to people who attacked women. In the blink of an eye, Han Zixing's face was swollen. Although the Han family was a giant, it was not enough to scare him. Emperor Green would. After that, he turned to Chu Xianyue and said, "How are you? Are you okay?" At this time, Chu Xuanyue's lips were moving and her eyes were full of tears. She was stunned. Since the first time she saw Qin Haodong, she was sure that this was her son, who had been lost for 21 years. At this moment, she couldn't control her emotions. If it weren't for the fact that her acupoints were restricted, she would have rushed over. Outside the room, Yi Qing was like an angry female leopard. She attacked mercilessly. There was a big difference between the two of them. After 3 moves, she broke Zhang Jingsheng's heart meridian. After dealing with the opponent in front of her, she rushed into the room in a hurry. She was relieved when she saw that Chu Xianyue was safe and sound. Han Zixing had just gotten up from the ground and was shocked to see Yi Qing in front of him. He had sent a 7th-level Supreme Power Master and 2 6th-level Supreme Power Masters. It was a carefully planned killing. He didn't understand how this little witch came back alive. "Bastard, how dare you attack my sister?" Before he could recover from the shock, Yi Qing had already hit his lower abdomen with her knee. Then, punches and kicks fell on his body like raindrops. Poor Han Zixing. He had just been beaten by Qin Haodong, and now he was being abused by Yi Qing. However, he was still the second generation of the Han family, and the youngest son of the Han family's master. For the sake of the Haodong group, Yi Qing finally suppressed the killing intent in her heart and kicked him out. Han Zixing knew that he wouldn't be able to get away with it today. He got up from the ground and fled in a sorry state. Yi Qing woke up the female assistant next to her and asked someone to dispose of the bodies of Zhang Jingsheng and the other 2 bodyguards. Finally, she closed the door again. She went to the bedside and unsealed Chu Xuanyue's acupoints. "Son, my son." At this time, Chu Xianyue only had eyes for Qin Haodong. She had just regained her ability to move, so she immediately cried and rushed over. Qin Haodong quickly moved his feet and got out of Chu Xuanyue's way. He said to Yi Qing in surprise, "Auntie Chu, do you have a mental illness?" Yi Qing grabbed Chu Xianyue and said, "Sister, don't worry. I haven't explained it to Haodong yet." Chu Xianyue then cried. Then tell him quickly. I'm his mother and he's my son. Don't worry. Wait a minute. I'll tell him now. Yi Qing took out the 2 DNA test reports from her pocket and handed them to Qin Haodong. She said, take a look at this. Qin Haodong was a little confused by the two of them. He took the test report in surprise and was shocked when he saw the results. No wonder he felt so close to Chu Xianyue at first sight. It turned out that she was the mother of this body. When he borrowed Qin Haodong's body to be reborn, he had promised him 2 last wishes. One was to revitalize traditional Chinese medicine, and the other was to find his biological parents. He had been working hard to revitalize traditional Chinese medicine, but there was no clue about finding his biological parents. He didn't expect that he would suddenly find his mother today. This was also a blessing from heaven. Seeing that he was stunned, Yi Qing said, in fact, I didn't call you here to see my sister at all. I want you to recognize each other. My sister is your biological mother. At this moment, Qin Haodong understood why Yi Qing took so much care of him from the beginning. It turned out that there was such a relationship. But when did you do this DNA test? Why did you think of doing this test for me? Yi Qing pointed to the photo of Qin Zongheng at the bedside and said, since the first time I saw you, I had doubts about your identity. That's why I later bought your hair with 100 million yuan in order to do a DNA test for you and my sister. Qin Haodong looked at the photo at the bedside. It was 90% similar to his current appearance. There was also a baby photo next to it. It should be him when he was a child. Chu Xianyue said excitedly. Child, now do you believe that I'm your biological mother? After Qin Haodong was reborn, he had integrated the memory of this body. Affected by this, he was also very excited, but he still asked, since you are my biological mother, why did you abandon me back then? This was the question he wanted to ask the most in the memory of the body. Chapter 561. Son, I didn't mean to abandon you. You were stolen. Chu Xianyue rushed at Qin Haodong again. This time, he did not dodge. After knowing that he had not been abandoned, the resentment in his heart had disappeared. The mother and son hugged each other and cried bitterly. Qin Haodong had been an orphan before and after his rebirth. He had never enjoyed a mother's love since he was a child. At this time, this strong sense of family touched him from the bottom of his heart. Yi Qing stood aside, and her eyes were also misty. She let the two of them cry for a while, and then said, well, sister, it's a happy thing for you and your son to meet. Don't cry anymore. Xiaoqing is right. Don't cry, I won't cry either. Chu Xianyue wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and stopped crying. But she held her son's hand and refused to let go for a moment. Qin Haodong glanced at the photo at the bedside and couldn't help asking, Mom, who is my father? Where is he now? Your father is from the Qin family in the capital. His name is Qin Zongheng. I don't know where he is now. Chu Xianyue said, and the tears that had just stopped flowed down again. Qin Haodong asked eagerly, Mom, how did Dad disappear? How did I lose it back then? What exactly happened? Although he had found his mother now, he found that there were still many mysteries about his life that needed to be solved. It's a long story. Listen to me slowly. Chu Xianyue said and told him about her relationship with Qin Zongheng from beginning to end, until Qin Haodong went missing. Qin Zongheng ran away from the Qin family, and she left the Chu family angrily. Qin Haodong's face turned cold after hearing this. The Chu family had gone too far. They believed Yuan Daoist's nonsense, and did not hesitate to kill their own grandson. Chu Xianyue said, Son, I finished. How have you been all these years? Tell me quickly. Therefore, Qin Haodong told them about his childhood. Yi Qing and Chu Xianyue sat next to him and listened quietly. When he was happy, they laughed together, and when he was sad, they cried together. After a long time, Qin Haodong finally told them about his experience until he met Yi Qing. Son, it's all my fault. I've made you suffer all these years. Thinking of Qin Haodong's hard life when he was a child, Chu Xuanyue's face was full of apology and heartache. It's all in the past. It's not a big deal. Qin Haodong didn't want to see his mother sad, so he changed the topic and said, Mom, You are so beautiful. You must have been a famous beauty in the capital, right? Yi Qing said. Of course, sister was one of the 2 flowers in the capital, a famous beauty and talented woman. Qin Haodong said. Mom is definitely a great beauty now, not to mention back then. Chu Xianyue touched his cheek and smiled. Not now. I'm old. Our son is already so big. Qin Haodong asked. Mom, you're so beautiful. Why didn't the Qin family agree to your marriage with Dad? Chu Xianyue sighed and said. You grew up in an ordinary family, so of course you don't understand the differences between aristocratic families. The marriage of the descendants of aristocratic families did not depend on whether the other party was agreeable or not, but on how much benefit the other party could bring to the family. Your father used to be a rare genius of the Qin family. He reached the supreme power realm at the age of 18, and the whole family had high hopes for him. However, the Qin family and the Chu family had always been on bad terms, but they had a tacit understanding with the Yin family. Coincidentally, the Yin family also had a peerless genius, Yin Feifei, who was 16 years old at that time. At that time, Yin Feifei and I were called the 2 flowers in the capital. Apart from our appearance, I was good at business management, while she was more outstanding in martial arts. At the age of 16, she was already half a step to the supreme power realm. At that time, both the Qin family and the Yin family had great ambitions, so the masters of both families wanted to pair up with 2 martial arts geniuses. Then the 2 families would join forces and finally defeat the 7 great families in the capital. Under such circumstances, the master of the Qin family certainly wouldn't agree to your father's marriage with me. He forced your father to marry Yin Feifei. In the end, your father ran away from home angrily, and there's no news of him now. Hearing this, Qin Haodong sighed and said, These big families really have no human feelings and reason. A forced marriage harmed 3 people. Not only did you and father suffer, but even Yin Feifei became a victim. Chu Xianyue said, By the way, if you meet Yin Feifei in the future, you must stay away from her. Qin Haodong said, Why? It was the Yin family who forced her to marry my father. What does it have to do with me? Chu Xianyue sighed and said, After your father ran away from the marriage, Yin Feifei's temperament changed greatly. She felt that Brother Zongheng had humiliated her, so she immersed herself in martial arts all day long. She swore that one day she would take revenge on your father. If she knew that you were Brother Zongheng's son, and that you look so similar to him, she might do something irrational. Qin Haodong asked, Has Yin Feifei never married? Chu Xianyue said, No, after your father left, she returned to the Yin family and publicly announced to the whole capital that if she didn't kill Qin Zongheng, she would not marry in this life. Qin Haodong exclaimed, Isn't that a little too extreme? Yi Qing said, In fact, she is also a pitiful person. It was pitiful enough for her to have an arranged marriage, but in the end, the other party ran away from the marriage. It's normal for her to be emotionally stimulated. Qin Haodong, he suddenly thought of a question and asked, What's Yin Feifei's cultivation now? Yi Qing said, She's at the 9th level of the supreme power realm. She can be said to be the top master among the aristocratic families in the capital. Qin Haodong was shocked. Before he could see his father, there was already such a strong enemy at the 9th level of the supreme power realm. How could he live? He licked his dry lips and asked, Isn't it said that every aristocratic family in the capital has 2 9th level supreme power realm masters? Why is Yin Feifei the top master? Chu Xianyue said, In fact, the 9th level of the supreme power realm has only appeared in the past few years. Decades ago, after the great calamity in Huaxia, the masters of all the families were killed or injured. When I fell in love with your father 20 years ago, there were not many supreme power masters in each family, and there was not a single one above the 7th level. Later, Huaxia was peaceful, and there were not many wars, so there were many masters in each family. Yin Feifei, as the peerless genius of the Yin family, was the first to reach the 9th level of the supreme power realm. There is also a gap between the 9th level masters. Although there are ninth-level masters in other families, they are still a little worse than Yin Feifei. Therefore, she is called the top master in the capital, and is also known as the most promising existence to reach the Saint Realm. Qin Haodong said, "She's so powerful. She is only 36 years old this year, but she has reached the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. She is indeed a genius in martial arts." Yi Qing said, "Because of this, I can't let you and my sister meet each other secretly in the name of curing the disease. If that crazy woman knows that Qin Zongheng's son is still alive, I don't know what crazy things she will do. Moreover, with her skills, no one can stop her." Chu Xianyue said, "Son, you must keep your identity a secret in the future. Don't let others know. Our enemy is not only Yin Feifei, but also the Chu family. Father believes in the old Taoists' words, and believes in the nonsense of the land of fairies. If he knows that you are still alive, he will definitely send masters to kill you." "I know, Mom," Qin Haodong said. "Yin Feifei is already so powerful. If my father was still alive, would he have reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm? Or more accurately, he has already entered the Saint Realm." Chu Xianyue sighed and said, "Your father thought that you were killed by the Chu family, so he ran away from home angrily. I don't know whether he is dead or alive these years. There is only one way to get him back, and that is to spread the news of your existence. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that before your father can find us, our enemies will have already come to kill us, so we can't do this." Seeing his mother's sad look, Qin Haodong said, "Mom, don't worry. Give me some time. I will return to the capital in 3 years at most. At that time, our family of 3 will be reunited." Seeing that her son was so ambitious, Chu Xianyue said happily, "Son, I have been waiting for so many years. Don't worry, as long as you are safe." Qin Haodong nodded and then said to Yi Qing, "Sister, I should thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to meet my mother." Chu Xianyue said, "Wait, what did you call Xiaoqing?" Qin Haodong said, "Sister." Chu Xianyue said reproachfully, "You child, how can you do this? Xiaoqing calls me sister. You should call her aunt." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Yi Qing quickly said, No, that will make me look old. You didn't agree to me calling you mother. I can't agree to Haodong calling me aunt. Just call me sister." Chu Xianyue said, "Haodong calls you sister, and you call me sister. Isn't the seniority a bit messy?" Yi Qing said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. We can call each other. Anyway, I can't let Haodong call me aunt. Otherwise, the seniority will be messed up. I still want to support him in the future." Chu Xianyue said, "How dare you? You can't do anything to my son. You are an old cow eating young grass. An old cow is still a cow, and young grass is also grass. It doesn't matter. I just want to eat. Haodong doesn't think I'm old, so you can't either." Then she turned around and said to Qin Haodong, "Do you think I'm old? You and Mom will always be young in my heart. You will never be old." Qin Haodong was very grateful to Yi Qing. For so many years, Chu Xianyue had been far away from the Chu family, and his father was not by her side. It was this girl and his mother, who had gone through the most difficult days together. Yi Qing said to Chu Xianyue proudly, "Look, Haodong doesn't dislike me." While the 3 of them were talking and laughing, Qin Haodong suddenly thought of a serious problem. Including the person just now, we have already killed 4 elders and masters of the Han family. Will they take revenge on our Haodong group? The smile on Chu Xuanyue's face immediately disappeared. Mother and son were reunited. They were so happy just now that they had forgotten about the Han family. Yi Qing also became serious. Now they had killed 3 level 6 Supreme Power Masters, and a level 7 Supreme Power Master of the Han family. They had also beaten Han Zixing like a dog. This matter would not be easy to resolve. Even if the Han family did not come forward to investigate, Han Zixing would not let it go. After a while, Chu Xianyue said, "Don't worry. At most, I will go back to the Chu family tomorrow. As long as my father is willing to help, the Han family will not dare to do anything to us." "No," Yi Qing immediately objected. "I fell out with the Chu family because of Haodong. I haven't been back for so many years. How can I give up my dignity because of this matter?" I killed all the people of the Han family. If they come to punish me, I will bear the responsibility alone. Don't say any more. Listen to me on this matter. You are all my children. As long as I am here, I can't let outsiders bully you. Chu Xianyue eased her tone and said, in fact, it's not a big deal. After all, he is my father. I just need to apologize. Chapter 562. Yi Qing said anxiously, Sister, you left the Chu family with the threat of death. If you go back now, the master of the Chu family will definitely put you under house arrest. Then you will never be able to leave the Chu family. Chu Xianyue smiled and said, So what? The Chu family is my home. I grew up there. Even if I can't leave, it doesn't matter. Just treat it as going home. As long as you and your brother are safe. Absolutely not. You just met Haodong and his mother. If you go back to the Chu family, you will never see each other again. I will take responsibility for the Han family alone. Qin Haodong was moved when he saw the two of them fighting to sacrifice themselves to shelter the family from the wind and rain. This was sincere family love. However, with him, Emperor Greenwood, how could he let the two women rush ahead? He said, Mom, sister, you don't have to fight. Maybe this matter is not as bad as you think. These things were all caused by Han Zixing alone. He lost 4 great elders in one day. I guess he won't dare to let the Han family know in a short time. We can wait and see. Well, that's also a way. Just as Yi Qing had said, Chu Xianyue had just reunited with her son. If it was not a last resort, she would naturally be reluctant to separate. Qin Haodong said, Mom, we talked all night. It's already dawn. Let's take a rest first. I'm also tired. Is there a spare room? I want to sleep for a while. Chu Xianyue said, You're tired. Then you can sleep here with me. She didn't know if she would be imprisoned when she returned to the Chu family. So she didn't want to be separated from her son for even a moment. Qin Haodong still had things to do, so he naturally couldn't be with Chu Xianyue. He said, I can't sleep well with you, and it will also affect your rest. I'll find an empty room to sleep for a while. Let's talk at noon. Well, you go to sleep first. I'll cook something delicious for you at noon. Chu Xianyue turned to Yi Qing and said, Take your brother to rest first. There were many empty rooms in the Haodong group, so Yi Qing directly took him to another room to rest. After Yi Qing left, Qin Haodong did not rest. Instead, he instantly fell into deep thought. At present, the Han family was definitely a colossus for him. Not to mention 2 9th-level Supreme Power Masters. He couldn't even fight against a 7th-level Supreme Power Master. How could he make the Han family let this matter go and not dare to retaliate against the Haodong group in the future? This was indeed a very difficult matter. There was also Han Zixing. First, he tried to assassinate Yi Qing, and then he offended his mother. This kind of person must not be allowed to live in this world. He put his hands behind his back and walked around the room a few times. Suddenly, he thought of a good idea that could solve all the problems. Although his current cultivation had not reached the peak, he had a set of mysterious spells that others could not reach and 500 years of cultivation experience. As long as he used them properly, he would be able to intimidate the Han family. Even the 7 major families in the capital would not dare to provoke the Haodong group. Having made up his mind, he called Qi Wan'er. Qi Wan'er was sleeping. She grabbed the phone in a daze and saw that it was Qin Haodong calling. She quickly pressed the answer button and said in a lazy voice, You're calling me so early. Do you miss me? I have something urgent to do. Hurry up and help me find Han Zixing's phone number. It's best to locate him. Why do you want to find him? Qi Wan'er said as she got up from the bed and turned on the laptop next to her. I have something to talk to him about. In order not to make Qi Wan'er worry, Qin Haodong did not tell her his real plan. Qi Wan'er took the computer, and her fingers began to click. She continued, Haodong, I'm telling you, the capital is not like Shanghai. There are many masters there. You must be careful, especially the 7 major families. With your current strength, you can't afford to provoke them. If you encounter any problems, you can tell me. I can ask my father to help you. Although he knew that Qi Wan-er was the eldest daughter of the Qi family and had a high status, families like the 7 major families in the capital were more interested in benefits. They would never offend the Han family because of Qi Wan-er's words. Moreover, even if the Qi family was willing to help him, it could only temporarily suppress the problem. It could not fundamentally solve the threat from the Han family. Qin Haodong said, "No need. You just need to help me locate Han Zixing. I can solve the rest myself." Got it. Qi Wan-er's hacking skills were absolutely good. She quickly found Han Zixing's mobile phone number. At the same time, she used the mobile phone signal to draw a trajectory map and sent it to Qin Haodong. Since leaving the Haodong group last night, he has been in the capital's central hospital. He hasn't left yet. Hearing this, Qin Haodong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Han Zixing would definitely not use his mobile phone to report such a big thing to his family. Since he had not returned to the Han family, the news had not been reported to the Han family. Send me the Han family's location map. Okay, I've sent it. Qi Wan-er then asked, Haodong, what are you going to do? You're not going to the Han family, are you? Don't worry, I won't rashly go to the Han family. I'm just waiting for Han Zixing in front of the Han family's door. Qin Haodong said, help me monitor Han Zixing's movements. Tell me when he leaves the hospital. He hung up the phone, took a pen and paper, wrote a note, and put it on the bedside table. It means that he's too excited to sleep. It's his first time in the capital, and he wants to go out for a walk. Tell Chu Xianyue and Yi Qing not to worry. He'll be back soon. After he finished writing, he opened the window and jumped down from upstairs, landing on the ground silently like a leaf falling from the sky. After leaving the Haodong group, he took a taxi and went straight to the Han family's location. Like the big families in Shanghai, big families like the Han family were generally far away from the hustle and bustle of the city and lived in a huge manor on the outskirts of the city. Half an hour later, Qin Haodong got out of the car and stopped about 500 meters away from the Han family. He looked at the huge manor. It was built against the mountain and should have covered an area of more than 100 acres. The decoration was not as luxurious as that of the big families in Shanghai, but it looked more simple and imposing, full of power. He chose a hidden spot next to it and set up a simple invisibility formation. Then he sat cross-legged, took out a jade talisman from his pocket, and began to make talismans. Talismans were also divided into grades. The lowest grade was drawn with yellow paper and cinnabar. The advantage of this kind of talisman was that it was low in cost and relatively simple to draw. The disadvantage was that the amount of heaven and earth spirit qi it contained was too little, so the effect was very poor. The relatively better talismans were drawn with jade talismans. Jade could contain more heaven and earth spirit qi, so the level of the talisman made was higher. At the same time, the difficulty increased exponentially. A large number of raw materials were needed. Fortunately, Qin Haodong had prepared a large number of emerald jade pieces in his storage ring, so he did not have to worry about the materials. An hour later, he destroyed dozens of jade talismans in succession, but he also had a few crystal-clear high-level talismans in his hands. According to his plan, he prepared 3 invisibility talismans. Each one could provide him with 3 minutes of invisibility. It could hide all the aura of the user and block the sight of others. In addition, there were 2 Heaven Ascension talismans, 3 Wind talismans, and 1 Thunder talisman. The Wind talisman could increase the user's speed and move like the wind. The Thunder talisman could make the user's voice sound like thunder. The Heaven Ascension talisman could make the user walk in the air and reach the sky step by step. Of course, the height was limited. It could reach a height of up to 100 meters. After putting away the talismans that he had made, he took out a mirror and a disguise medicine. He began to tidy up his appearance in the mirror. 5 minutes later, a middle-aged man about 40 years old appeared in the mirror. However, his appearance had not changed much. In comparison, he looked more like Qin Zongheng, who was at the head of Chu Xuanyue's bed. Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction in the mirror. Then he took out a robe and changed his clothes. He was almost ready. At this time, the phone next to him rang. It was Chi Wan-er. After answering the phone, he heard Chi Wan-er say, Han Zixing has left the central hospital and is heading in the direction of the Han family's manor. He will arrive in about 20 minutes. A sneer appeared at the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. He's finally here. This road was built by the Han family for their own manor. There were very few vehicles on the road. About 20 minutes later, a Maybach sports car appeared in his sight. The driver was Han Zixing. Han Zixing had been beaten black and blue yesterday. Although he did not have serious internal injuries, he looked very miserable. In order to save face, he did not return to the Han family. Instead, he was treated in the hospital. He thought about it for a whole night. This time, under his plan, 4 great elders have been killed in succession. One of them was the shadow assassin Su Qingji, who had reached the 7th level of the supreme power realm. With so many people dead, it was impossible to hide it. After hesitating again and again, he decided to confess to the old man of the Han family. When he thought of Yi Qing and the toy boy who had suddenly appeared, he gnashed his teeth in hatred. They dared to beat him up. This time, even if he was punished by the family rules, he would make the Haodong group pay the price. He had to let them know that the Han family could not be provoked by anyone. While he was thinking, he suddenly saw a figure appear in the middle of the road. This person was wearing a long robe. He was tall, and his back was facing the incoming car. Han Zixing was holding back his anger at this time. When he saw someone blocking his way, he immediately rolled down the window and scolded. "Who the hell are you? Are you crazy? Get out of my way. Do you believe that I won't kill you?" Hearing the scolding, the man slowly turned his head. When he saw the man's appearance clearly, Han Zixing was suddenly stunned. He stammered, You are Qin Zongheng?" Although it had been 21 years, Qin Zongheng had been powerful in the capital, and everyone knew him. As the young master of the Han family, Han Zixing naturally recognized Qin Zongheng. Qin Zongheng. However, there had been no news of Qin Zongheng in the past few years. He thought that he was dead, so he dared to plot against Chu Xianyue. If Qin Zongheng was still alive, he would not dare to do so. However, the person who had disappeared for 21 years appeared in front of him, which shocked and frightened him. If it were not for the bright sun, he would have thought that he had seen a ghost. This Qin Zongheng was naturally Qin Haodong in disguise. He looked at Han Zixing coldly and said, "It's rare that you still recognize me after so many years." When he spoke, he used a special cultivation method to change his voice, making it sound more mature and calm, without any flaws. "Yes, I recognize you. What do you want from me?" Han Zixing had just bullied Chu Xianyue. Although he did not succeed, if Qin Zongheng knew about it, he would definitely kill him. It was because of his guilty conscience that he was extremely nervous when he spoke. Qin Haodong's expression turned cold, and he shouted sternly, "Han Zixing, don't you know that Chu Xianyue is my woman? How dare you plot against her? Do you not take me, Qin Zongheng, seriously?" Chapter 563. No, I didn't. It's a misunderstanding. Han Zixing was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He couldn't even say a complete sentence. He couldn't be blamed for being timid. It was all because Qin Zongheng's fame was too great. 20 years ago, he was a martial arts genius who dominated the capital. Now that so many years had passed, who knew what level his cultivation had reached? It wouldn't be surprising if he had reached the legendary martial saint level. "Han Zixing, do you think I don't know what you did last night? If I don't kill you today, others will really think that my woman is easy to bully." Speaking of this, a condensed murderous aura rose from Qin Haodong's body. This murderous aura was disguised by his extremely powerful spirit. Even a martial saint expert was nothing more than this. In the courtyard of the Han family, the family master, Han Wuji, stood with his hands behind his back. There was a trace of anger on his face as he said to the housekeeper in front of him, "Where's Zixing? Didn't he come back last night?" The housekeeper said respectfully, "There's no one in the young master's room." This bastard, he only knows how to spend his time outside. No wonder his cultivation can't improve. Han Wuji was speaking when he suddenly stopped and looked in the direction of the door with a horrified expression. Murderous aura. What a shocking murderous aura. Who the hell was this? There was such a strong murderous aura in front of the Han family's door. Who was he going to attack? At the same time, the other experts of the Han family also felt this amazing aura. One by one, they rushed out of the house and rushed in the direction of the door. At the front were two figures in gray robes. These two people were as fast as lightning. They were the two first-class elders of the Han family, experts at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Qin Haodong had carefully chosen this place to attack. He could not only let the experts of the Han family discover his existence, but he could also win some time to leave. In the whole world, he was the only one who could make such a delicate calculation. As the former Emperor Greenwood, he knew very well how fast the experts of each level were, including the two 9th level Supreme Power Masters, who were comparable to cultivators at the late stage of Gold Core. In the face of Qin Haodong's murderous aura, Han Zixing felt a warm current flowing down his lower body. He was completely scared, and there was no room for resistance. Die! A golden light flashed in Qin Haodong's hand, and the Xianyuan divine sword instantly pierced through the front windshield of the Maybach. It drilled a hole in Han Zixing's forehead, as if it was cutting tofu. Then, it came out of the rear windshield and returned to Qin Haodong's hand. At this time, the fastest two 9th level Supreme Power Masters had already rushed out of the Han family's gate. When the two people who were rushing forward saw this scene, they suddenly trembled with fear. Controlling a sword to kill people, that's a cultivation that only a half-saint can possess. Could it be that this person has already reached the half-saint realm? After Qin Haodong killed Han Zixing with one sword strike, he slowly turned his head and shouted in the direction of the Han family's gate. Han Wuji, I Qin Zongheng, have killed Han Zixing here today. In the future, if anyone dares to disrespect my wife, Chu Xianyue, I will destroy your entire Han family. This loud shout was like a clap of thunder, shaking the surroundings and spreading to every corner of the Han family's manor. It scared the birds in the surrounding mountains and forests to fly into the air. He secretly nodded in his heart. It seemed that the effect of the thunderclap talisman was quite good. If he only used his internal strength to make a sound, he would not be able to reach this level yet. He was afraid that he would need to at least reach the Elixir Realm late stage, or the Nascent Soul Realm early stage. At the same time, the two 9th level Supreme Power Masters in the front were less than 300 meters away from him. He knew that he couldn't stay any longer. If he got too close to these two 9th level Supreme Power Masters, it was very likely that he would be exposed. Therefore, Qin Haodong rose into the air and walked up step by step, as if he was stepping on a ladder in midair. After taking 7 or 8 steps, he had already flown 50 or 60 meters into the air. At this time, the two 9th level Supreme Power Masters were only 100 meters away from him. Seeing this scene in front of them, the two of them were so scared that they stopped in their tracks. They opened their mouths wide and shouted in horror, lifting heavy things as if they were light and flying in the air. This is a saint. Then, a scene that made them even more frightened happened again. Qin Haodong's figure suddenly disappeared in midair, and even his aura disappeared completely. Teleportation. Oh my god, it's really a saint. The two 9th level Supreme Power Masters were so frightened that they fell to the ground. At the same time, the other experts of the Han family also rushed out and saw the scene in front of them in shock. Han Wuji's face was livid as he led many experts of the Han family to the front of the Maybach. At this time, Han Zixing was lying in a pool of blood, and there was no longer any vitality. He turned around and said to the two 9th level Supreme Power Masters, "Second brother, third brother, you came the fastest. What did you see?" The two 9th level Supreme Power Masters were both his cousins. One was called Han Wuwei, and the other was Han Wujiu. In a big family like theirs, generally speaking, the master of the family was not the person with the highest cultivation. Because once he sat in the position of the family master, he would have to divide his energy to manage the family affairs. He could not concentrate on martial arts like the elders, so his cultivation would naturally be greatly affected, unless he was a martial arts genius like Qin Zongheng. At this time, Han Wuji still had a frightened expression on his face as he said, "Qin Zongheng. It's Qin Zongheng from the Qin family. I didn't expect him to have reached the Saint Realm." When he said this, everyone present was extremely shocked. Qin Zongheng had disappeared for 21 years, and they didn't expect him to reappear in the capital. Han Wuji asked with a gloomy expression, "Second brother, are you sure this person is Qin Zongheng?" Han Wuji nodded and said, "I can't be wrong. I was defeated by him in 3 moves. I always remember this great humiliation and practiced hard. I originally thought that after reaching the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, the gap between us should have narrowed. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. He has actually broken through to the Saint Realm. In the past, the Qin family called him a rare martial arts genius. I was not convinced at first, but now I am completely convinced." As the master of the Han family, Han Wuji was much calmer than the others. He was also very meticulous. He asked with some uncertainty, "Second brother, among the families in the capital, there are so many 9th level Supreme Power Masters, but none of them can break through to the Saint Realm. Many people even think that the Saint Realm is just a legend. Are you sure that Qin Zongheng has broken through this threshold?" "Big brother, I can't be wrong," Han Wuwei said with a solemn expression. "Originally he killed Zixing through the air. I thought that his cultivation had only reached the half-saint realm, but later, Qin Zongheng used floating air and teleportation. These are definitely abilities that can only be possessed by people who have reached the Saint Realm. I can't be wrong." Han Wuji also said, "It's true. Although third brother, and I haven't touched the threshold of the Saint Realm, it's impossible for ordinary people to pretend to be the winner in front of us. Whether it's the murderous intent shown by Qin Zongheng, or the teleportation later, and floating air, they are all real Saint Realm cultivation. There can't be any falsehood." Seeing that the 2 9th level Supreme Power Masters were so sure, Han Wuji no longer had any doubts. He waved to the people around him and said, "Pass down my order. Immediately hold an emergency family meeting." At the same time, he said to a middle-aged man next to him, "Go and find out what Zixing has done." He actually lured Qin Zongheng out. The middle-aged man was Han Zai, the eldest son of the 2nd generation of the Han family. He controlled a huge intelligence system in his hands. After receiving the order from the family master, he immediately strode into the Han family's manor. The intelligence system that the Han family had operated for many years began to operate at high speed. Half an hour later, Han Wuji sat in the Han family's conference hall. Next to him were Han Wujiu and Han Wuwei. Below them were dozens of core members of the Han family. Han Zai rushed into the hall with a stack of documents in his hand and said to Han Wuji, "Master, the matter has been investigated." Han Wuji said, "Tell me what's going on." Han Zai said, "Since Qin Zongheng disappeared, Zixing has been targeting Chu Xianyue. He wanted to take her and the Haodong group into his pocket. Just last night, he had privately mobilized an elder at the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm and 2 elders at the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm to assassinate Yi Qing. In the end they failed. All 3 Supreme Power Elders died strangely, including the shadow assassin Su Qingji. Speaking of this, everyone present showed a look of surprise. 3 Supreme Power Elders and a 7th level Supreme Power Master, Su Qingji, had died just like that. Han Wuji asked with a livid face, "Did you find out who did it? Was it Qin Zongheng?" Han Zai said, "Time is running out. We haven't found out yet." Han Wuji knew that assassinating Yi Qing was not enough to anger Qin Zongheng. He said, "Go on." Han Zai said, "After sending someone to assassinate Yi Qing, Zixing took Zhang Jingsheng, a 6th level Supreme Power Master, to the Haodong group. First, he asked Zhang Jingsheng to pretend to be a doctor and treat Chu Xianyue. Then he tried to molest her." Hearing this, everyone understood that this was the root cause of Qin Zongheng's anger. Han Zixing was really bold. He actually tried to molest Chu Xianyue. Wasn't he trying to make Qin Zongheng a cuckold? Han Wuji asked. What happened? Han Zaiyi said. In the end, Yi Qing just came back and killed Zhang Jingsheng. At the same time, she beat Zixing up, and then drove him out of the Haodong group. Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Han Wuji's back even broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, Han Zixing did not succeed. Otherwise, Qin Zongheng would not have just killed him. The entire Han family would have been buried with him. Although the Han family was one of the 7 most powerful families in the capital, and there were many experts in the family, the strength of a saint was not something that ordinary people could imagine. Based on the situation today, no one could fight against a furious Qin Zongheng. Han Wuji said. Judging from the current situation, Qin Zongheng was not in the capital at that time. He came back after hearing the news. Han Wuwei said, Han Zixing, that bastard, almost destroyed our entire Han family. Up to now, the entire Han family had been shocked by the powerful strength shown by Qin Zongheng. Everyone's heart was filled with fear. No one was angry that Qin Zongheng had killed Han Zixing, and no one was sad for his death at all. Han Wuji said, Big brother, what do you think our Han family should do next? Han Wuji said, Pass down my family master's order. Before our Han family has a saint-level master, no one is allowed to provoke the Haodong group. No one is allowed to have any ideas about Chu Xianyue. Otherwise, they will be killed without mercy. We will obey the family master's order. No one present objected to this order. They even breathed a long sigh of relief. Many people were afraid that Han Wuji would retaliate against the Haodong group. At that time, they would all become cannon fodder under Qin Zongheng's sword. Qin Haodong did not know about this, nor did he know how much shock he had brought to the Han family. After using the invisibility talisman, he quickly crushed a wind talisman and turned into a meteor as he fled into the distance. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.